Well, welcome to a big night in AusCycling's calendar, the 128th running of the famous Austral Wheelrace. It's the oldest track cycling race still running in the world, and it was first held back in 1887 at the famous MCG. It was over 2 miles back then, 3.2 kilometres. It's now 2,000 metres on this wonderful indoor velodrome here at the Darebin International Sports Centre. I'm Scott McGrory, bringing you all of the action here tonight. We'll also have a festival of Keirins to get the night underway with under-19s, elite men and women, before we see the Austral finals for both the men and the women, and then the Australian Madison Championships coming up later on for both the women and the men as well. So a massive day of racing, and this is the final day of what has been a big week for these riders here in Melbourne. The Australian Omnium Championships and Grand Prix sprinting has been happening over the last couple of days. So there's some tired legs coming out onto the boards on the final day here, Saturday night here in Melbourne, as we see the first race about to come up onto the track. And this is for the under-19 men, the race for 7th to 12th in their Keirin. The big lads, the next generation coming up. And we have Ravi Hermans from the Central Coast. Ben Woods rides for the Blackburn Cycling Club. Another Melburnian from Brunswick is Riley Boyd. And Max Woodruff from Launceston coming across the Tasman. Luca Payats from South Coast and Chris Mullins from Balmoral. This is the race for 7th place. We'll see the finalists in the big final up next for the men's under-19 Keirin. 6 laps of the track. Bike comes off after 3 laps. As I said, it's been a big couple of days. So many races, even this afternoon as well. There was a lot of racing going on. And you see in the orange colours, the Dutch jersey, but he's not riding for the Netherlands. That's Ravi Hermans. So Hermkens on the back of the bike, racing to be the best of the rest. Save some face and see if they can finish 7th out of the top under-19 Keirin riders here. Second position there is Luca Payat from the South Coast in the red colours. And very early, leaving a gap to the first rider as well. Just giving himself enough room to move if there's any sort of manoeuvre coming from behind as they come around to get 4 laps to go. We look further down the field. Looking very stoic is Riley Boyd from Brunswick in 3rd position. Wait for a move from one of the riders further down the back as they come around this time with 3 to go, and the bike does now exit stage left. And it's Hermkens that leads away still. Big move coming all the way from the very back, though. And that's Ben Woods that comes right up around the outside. And they've really stalled and staggered here as they go 3 wide down the back to the front straight. Boyd goes over the top. Another Brunswick rider there leading as he goes down the back straight with 1.5 laps to go. Remember, this is the race for 7th to 12th in the under-19 men's Keirin. And Riley Boyd from Brunswick comes through. Big cheer from the crowd for Riley Boyd. Plenty of Brunswick supporters here in the Velodrome in Darebin. Just struggling to hold on the inside, though, as Hermkens comes up around the outside in the orange colours. And Hermkens will get there. So Ravi Hermkens gets the victory, and that places him 7th in the overall standings for the men's under-19 Keirin. Brave ride there by Riley Boyd. Hermkens comes up around the outside in the orange colours. One stage looked like he was going to get boxed in, but he moved out, went around just a little bit too early and was run down in the end by Ravi. A lot of history here in this velodrome. Of course, on the site of the old Northcote Velodrome, the outdoor track, concrete facility. Now, this lovely facility placed right on the top. The Austral Wheelrace was held here on this track in the old format before this one was constructed. It was then moved into the Olympic precinct in the centre of Melbourne. And we're back out here to Northcote or Darebin. See some of the famous and very well-credentialed handlers looking after these riders as we see the under-19 men coming up for their final. The race for 1st to 6th in the Keirin. Shane Kelly, right, in the Victorian Institute of Support colours there. 4-time world champion. Sensational Keirin rider. Back in the day, such a tactical genius. And we'll see Mitch Stevens, Lockie Stewart, Sebastian Topping, Isaac Byrne, Angus Withington and Patrick Main. So Patrick Main from Lidcombe Auburn at the very top of the track in the black colours. So 2 riders from the Victorian Institute of Sport in 2nd and 3rd positions. So Isaac Byrne and Lockie Stewart. And right on the front there is Sebastian Topping. The Queensland colours, rides for the Balmoral Cycling Club. Stewart sitting behind him already, just taking a peek over his shoulder. As is Isaac Byrne, position number 3. Patrick May right at the very back from Lidcombe, New South Wales. Angus Withington is the rider just in front of him from Canberra in the light blue colours. And Mitch Stevens from South Australia in the white colours there. Bike comes off now, 3 laps to go. This is the final of the men's under-19 Keirin. Topping, still topping the field at the moment. Just stacking up a little bit, so Sebastian not wanting to go too soon. And no real takers to go to the front. They come around to get 2 laps to go. Stewart at the bottom of the track. Stevens fighting for position. It's an arm wrestle down the back straight. Isaac Byrne said he'll have some of this. And it was the Victorian sandwich that saw Stevens get squeezed out the back. Isaac Byrne still on the outside, fighting back on the inside. Stewart, he'll have the short run around the final bend. Lockie Stewart trying to come through underneath. Stewart gets to the front and he will come through to get the win. Super strong ride there from Lachlan Stewart. Shoulder to shoulder, all the way around the last lap and a half with his Victorian mate in Isaac Byrne. But he had the strength to hold on the inside. That was a really gutsy ride from Lockie Stewart. Must have been a moment there where he thought Byrne was going to go over the top, squeeze him down to the bottom of the track, but he gave him enough room and he was able to fight back on the inside. So really strong riding there from a rider that we're hearing a lot about. Someone to really watch in the next couple of years, Lachlan Stewart. So Sebastian Topping coming back to finish in 2nd place ahead of Isaac Byrne. So Topping from that first position when the bike came off, you could see he was reluctantly on the front. He didn't want to lead out too soon and was able to get himself back out of danger and into 2nd position. So a good ride from Topping as well to tactically, after getting boxed in, to come back to finish 2nd. Under-19 women now, and their Keirin final. Again, the first is the race for 7th to 12th. Olivia Wright from Queensland. Emily Watch, also from up north. Alana Lake, the Blackburn Cycling Club. Madison Smith from the Gold Coast, my old place of residence. I grew up racing on the Nerang Velodrome up there on the Gold Coast. Milan Bradshaw, the Uni of Queensland. And Alexis Phillips riding for the Vikings Cycling Club. So 2 riders from the Vikings. Down the bottom of the track, though, it's Alana Lake from Blackburn in the Victorian colours of blue and white. First onto the back of the motorcycle after drawing position number 1 in the race for 7th to 12th in the women's under-19 Keirin. Blue and black, favoured colours as they come through. Olivia Wright in 2nd position. Maddie Smith from the Gold Coast in the black colours in position number 3. Paying plenty of attention to the riders behind. So Wright giving a little bit of distance here at 4 laps to go. They'll come around to get 3, and the bike will come off next time. The race for 7th in the under-19 Keirin. Big gap now that Olivia is giving. So Alana Lake just giving herself a little bit of room to move as well as the bike now comes off. Signifies to move left. It goes down, and Lake goes through. Olivia Wright moves up into second, a little bit closer now. No big moves from behind. Few riders jumping out of the saddle in anticipation of an attack, but that's come to nothing. Slow attack happening now as Olivia Wright drifts around the outside. Alexis Phillips from the Vikings is too wide in 4th position. And for now, in the race for 7th place in the under-19 women's Keirin, it's Olivia Wright from Balmoral that leads. She'll hear the bell first as she comes across the line. The move now comes again from Alana Lake. The Victorian goes down the back straight in front. Can she hold on? Lake into the final bend. She knows this track well. Trains and races here all the time. She's worked it out. She knows how to get to the line. Oh, I'm not sure if she did get there first. Maddie Smith from the Gold Coast may have got over the top. I'll wait for confirmation. Good throw from Maddie. She might have just got there for 7th place, the Gold Coaster. And confirmation, Madison Smith. Well worth the trip from Queensland. Comes away with 7th in the under-19 women's Keirin. So just ahead of Alana Lake, we saw how close that was. And Milan Bradshaw came across the line in 3rd. So she'll finish 9th overall in the under-19 women's Keirin. As the riders make their way around, and we see the final getting themselves ready. So the under-19 women's Keirin final, strapped in and almost ready to come up onto the track. So some of the riders we saw represent Australia at the World Championships in the under-19s this year. Ella Liang from Balmoral, 2nd from the top in the Queensland colours. The Australian under-19 1,000-metre time trial winner. She's good over these distances. The longer type of sprints really do So keep an eye out for Liang. You have Maddie Pitt, April Patty, 2 Aprils, April Cat as well from South Australia. Paige Squire, also from the Norwood Cycling Club in Adelaide. And Hope Harnetti from Castlemaine. She's in the yellow colours, lining up in 3rd position. So Maddie Pitts, ex-Speed Australia, position number 1. Big look over the shoulder there just to see exactly who it was behind her. And she's looking straight into the visor of Paige Squire from Norwood Cycling Club in Adelaide. Then it's Harnetti in the yellow colours. April Cat in the red colours in 4th position. And South Australian Sports Institute right behind her. Ella Liang, the Queensland colours, maroon. And she's the first to make a move. So Liang, up round the outside, bike comes off, 3 laps to go. It's a long way from here. April Paddy still right at the very back, the Balmoral Queenslander. So top and tail bookend the group here, the Queenslanders. Harnetti, though, comes up to try and put some pressure here on Liang. So a little bit of an arm wrestle at 2 laps to go between Harnetti and Liang. Liang, the more credentialed rider, now both bouncing out of the saddle with a lap and a half to go. It's the final of the under-19 women's Keirin. And doing it the hard way, Hope Harnetti on the outside, really fighting. And a big move coming now from April Cat from Norway. 3 wide as they go down the back straight. Huge fight on the inside from Liang. She's been there since the bike came off. And now April Cat, though, she gets over the top, downhill run to the line, and Cat wins the under-19 Women's Keirin. Little bit too early on the front, though, we saw from Liang. Too much work pushed by Harnetti right through that final lap, and that opened the door for April Cat. Wasn't easy. She had to go 3 wide down the back straight, but had the speed and the strength to come over the top. And without squeezing the riders on the inside, it's so difficult when you're stuck on the outside to not want to just turn left, chop them in half and get to the line first. But she did it safely, smoothly, and she comes away as the winner. Great riding from April Cat from Norwood. So Maddie Pitts, second place for her, ahead of Hope Harnetti and Paige Squire there as well. I did say it's a festival of Keirins to get the program underway here as we go to the Elite Women's Keirin now. This is the race for 7th to 12th. Plenty of riders in on this start list that are bitterly disappointed that they didn't make the final. So this is a redemption race for these riders. Sophie Watts, Molly McGill, Lauren Perry, Ruby McLean, Lilia Tatarinoff and Christine Perkins. 3 of those riders in Watts, McGill and Perkins representing Australia in the team sprint. Perkins crashed in the previous round, unfortunately. So this is going to be fascinating. Some really well-credentialed riders finding themselves in the race for 7th. McLean it is, Victorian colours, position number 1. Plenty of experience within this group as well. So Molly McGill in the Australian colours in second position. You got Tatarinoff in third position, Perkins behind her. Lily has been great in the sprints this week, personal best in the Flying 200. Keirin can be a very different kettle of fish. So Lauren Perry right down the back of the group here in position number 6. Sophie Watts in the Queensland colours, position number 5. 3 laps to go. Bike now comes off. McLean leads. And McGill very quick to go, so very fast at the front. You can see the gaps opening up to third. This could cause some big problems for riders further back. Sophie Watts has a lot of work to do in the Queensland colours. So McGill leads through. Big gap from McLean in second position. Back to third place, though. Tatarinoff with a lot of work to do. Perkins sits back there on her wheel. Sophie Watts coming around the outside, coming up into third position at the bell. She'll have a run at these riders down the back straight if she hasn't spent all of her energy by now. Steps out, 3 wide, cruises down the back straight. Sophie Watts in the Queensland colours flies around the outside. There is a challenge from Perry, but Watts holds on. So 7th place for her in the women's Keirin. Well, extraordinary to see such big gaps open up over those last 2 laps, but Sophie Watts moved just early enough to cover the danger. Sophie had the 6th fastest time in the sprint qualifying the other day. Just over 11 seconds. Didn't get under that magic 11-second barrier and into the 10s. Confirmation, Watts, Perry and Christine Perkins coming up for 3rd place. Extraordinary story for Christine Perkins. Bronze medal at the World Championships this year for Australia in the team sprint. And the very first edition of the women's team sprint at the World Championships was in 2007. And she got a bronze medal there as well. went into retirement from cycling, came back, went to the Worlds again, picked up another bronze medal this year. So quite extraordinary career for Christine. Top 6 now in the elite women's Keirin. See a couple of the Queensland colours down there. Danica Blinko from the Balmoral Cycling Club, and also Emma Stevens, two Balmoral riders. And Balmoral really has become the strong track cycling club in Queensland. They've always been a really good racing club, and they certainly have come on very strong in the last few years. Nurul Maud from Malaysia, and also Nur Alissa Maud. So the two riders from Malaysia. One down the very bottom, 4'9" in height. The shortest rider on the program, and that is Nurul Maud. And look out for Alessia McCaig in the Australian colours. 4th place in her very first time in the top 6 at the World Championships in the Women's Keirin this year. Bronze medal, of course, in the team sprint. But then getting into the final and finishing 4th at the World Championships in the Keirin. Fantastic achievement for Alessia McCaig. She has been the dominant sprinter this week as well over the last couple of days. At the back of the field is Brianna Hargrave from the Norwood Cycling Club in the South Australian Sports Institute colours. So Emma Stevens it is that leads, the first of the two Queenslanders. So Stevens with the white and grey helmet. Danica Blinko, the black helmet. Bike rolls off. Stevens leads. And the two Malaysians, will they work together? Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It's Mould first of the two Malaysians. Stevens in second wheel now. She wants to go over the top. Hargrave in the red colours of the South Australian Sports Institute. She's hung up on the outside. That's not going to be helpful. Challenge has to try and pick a way through. She's been able to do that. 1 lap to go. Stevens leads. And the pocket rocket from Malaysia. Nurul Maud now leads down the back straight. Here comes Alessia McCaig, 4th at the World Championships. She's the favourite to win this one, and she's coming away with it. We can call it now. McCaig gets to the line first. Great sprinting from Alessia. Blinko comes through to get second for Queensland, and it's Maud from Malaysia. First one to get to the final lap out in front, but was run down, and she finishes third. She has been on fire, Alessia McCaig, this week. Fastest qualifier for the sprints, 10.803. A 22-year-old still has so much more room to improve over the next few years. The second fastest qualifier was Tatarinov, who didn't make it into the Keirin final, but at only 19, you can expect a lot from her over the next couple of years. Blinko, second here in the Keirin, third quickest in the sprint as well. So she's shown very good form also this week here. Austral Week, powered by Quest of Ivanhoe. The elite men now. The big fellas coming up onto the track. Race for 7th to 12th. Then we'll see, of course, the race for 1st to 6th. Then we'll get into the Austral wheel races. Women followed by the men. For now, we focus on 7th to 12th. And first check is that all 6 riders are there, because Soichi Ono from Japan had a nasty crash in the previous round. So, firstly, great to see him onto the track. No serious damage. Skin suit was absolutely ruined. So, fresh kit and back out there. Tate Ryan, second from the top. Max Liebknecht, the two riders from the South Australian Institute of Sport. Then it's Danny Barber. He'll be third on the bike. Ryan Elliott. You can see on the side of Ryan Elliott, he had a nasty off earlier as well. You can see the skin suit, dusty, a couple of little holes in it. Hopefully he still has enough skin intact underneath that lycra. He leads as they come through with 5 laps to go. Noah Mason in the orange and blue colours. Newcastle Hunter District Cycling Club in second position. So Elliott, Mason, Barber, Liebknecht, Ryan and Ono. Soichi Ono, former baseball player. I hear a lot of particular sports, maybe crossing to cycling. First time I've heard of an elite baseballer, though, making the transition across to track sprinting. And so many of the Japanese riders have their sights set after the international scene of racing in the Keirin circuit in Japan. So much money to be won in long careers, well into their 40s, many of the Japanese Keirin riders. Come around to get 2 laps to go. The crash affected Ryan Elliott, a little bit slow to react. Mason goes, Barber over the top of him. Mason trying to fight Barber off, though. And the big man Barber, medalist of the World Championships in the team sprint, along with Ryan this year in Chile. But it's Barber that leads through. Ono, the former baseball player, trying to get a home run as he goes down the back straight. But Barber too strong at this point. Dan Barber from Dubbo in the Aussie colours comes through to finish 7th in the men's Keirin. Soichi Ono from Japan, he'll finish 8th. And 9th there was Noah Mason. So the rider from New South Wales, good result from him as well. So Elliott and Barber picking up medals in the team sprint at the World Champs in Santiago, Chile, back in October. Both men's and women's team sprint teams getting onto the podium. Sensational riding and great coaching, the program to put teams together like that and keep the sprinters all working together. It's really difficult. So much training, not a lot of racing for the sprinters to do. As we see confirmation, Dan Barber, Soichi Ono and Noah Mason. First, second, third makes them 7th, 8th and 9th overall. Tate Ryan was super quick in the sprints earlier this week. Wasn't able to make that transition into the Keirin after multiple days of racing. Bit of fatigue perhaps in the young rider's legs. 2-time back-to-back World Under-19 kilometre time trial champion. As we see the top 6 in the men's Keirin line up. In the red and black colours there, one to point out, Azizul Awang from Malaysia, 37 years of age. An absolute superstar. 2-time medalist in the Keirin at the Olympic Games and a former World Keirin champion. 2017 he was the world champ, and at 37 it's extraordinary to see him still on such top form. And I know from only a couple of weeks ago, flying 200 metre time, not that impressive. Fast forward 2 weeks, the man can race above himself, and he has been so competitive this week. Second in the sprints to Tate Ryan, and once again finds himself in the final of a Keirin. He lines up against Sam Gallagher, James Brister, Ryuto Ichida, Ryo Mikami and Xavier Bland. So that's Awang in the middle, position number 3. 2 riders from Japan in first and second position. Mikami is the taller of the 2 in position number 1. Ichida in 2, then it's Awang. Sam Gallagher from the Blackburn Cycling Club in the blue and white colours of Victoria. Then it's Xavier Bland. And at the back of the field there is James Brister. Port Adelaide Cycling Club in the South Australian Sports Institute colours, and the first to move. The bike will come off this time. This is the race for first to 6th in the men's Keirin. Brister will lead. Oh, he's gone to the front but then backed off as Gallagher has filled that position. crafty rider, Gallagher. Love seeing him on the track. So Gallagher leads. Brister showing good form. Then it's Bland. First of the two Japanese riders is Mikami, and a bit of work for Awang to do, as he's at the back of the field now. So Mikami leads. I'll come round to get the bell this time. Japan 1 and 2. Mikami, Ichida, and it's Awang. Gallagher's now fading. Brister also. 3 riders out in front. 2 from Japan, and Ichida goes over the top. Mikami into second position, but Awang is coming. Wheel stand across the line, but only for second this time, as Ryuto Ichida gets the win. Perfect ride there from Ichida. Followed his teammate Mikami. The last couple of laps, got the slingshot down the back straight, powered around to get the win. And once again, Azazul Awang is able to get himself onto a podium in a Keirin. Such a crafty rider. And a wheel stand across the line. Signature tactic from the superstar from Malaysia. Ryuto Ichida gets the job done. Very international Keirin with the 3 as Aussies in 4th, 5th and 6th. But Ichida, Awang and Mikami. 1, 2, 3. And a big gap back to James, Xavier and Sam, fighting amongst themselves as the internationals sweep the podium. Some good respect and camaraderie between Sam Gallagher and Azazul Awang. Likewise with Rio Mikami. So we're now not too long until we see the first of our 2 Austral Wheelrace finals. Women will be the first to come onto the track. And we have 2 scratch riders in the women's field. Georgia Baker, 2-time winner, and Maeve Plouffe, also a winner. So former winners lining up together on scratch. That will be fascinating. And we see the proud partners of the Omnium and Madison Track National Championships, our Austral Week. Thanks very much to Quest of Ivanhoe, who have been our main event partners for the last couple of years. Also see ARA, the ARA group sponsors our national team. Also have a development team as well within the Pro Velo Super League, domestic racing scene in Australia. So ARA have come on as fantastic partners to AusCycling. Vehicle sponsor in GWM. We have the Road National Championships coming up in Perth, and GWM fantastically shipping a bunch of vehicles over to Perth so we can use them for our commissaires and all our needs for the road races in the first week of January. It really does kick off the year of racing with our national champs. Second year being held in Perth in a 3-year partnership. Crowd enjoying some wonderful racing, as they always do here at the Velodrome. So track cycling, watching whether you're streaming it or watching it on television at the Olympics, it's wonderful, but it's so much better at the venue. Up close and personal to see the speed of these athletes. And this is the replays of some of the earlier races this afternoon. We had under 17 racing, junior racing all through this afternoon as well. It's one of the things that sometimes gets a little bit lost, not that we expect them to realise it, but when the elite riders do come out to race, perhaps they don't quite realise the juniors are watching and they're getting inspired by them. Certainly looking at their behaviour as well. Need to be good sports on and off the track. And the heats of the Australs this afternoon. Saw the wonderful start list we have. 16 riders in the women's final. 20 will be lining up in the men's. Arwang onto the podium again in a Keirin final. Not able to get to the win, but we'll share that podium with two Japanese riders, Ichida and Mikami. So great Keirin racing. Really important for especially the younger sprinters, both men and women, under 19s, to get as much racing as possible. And that's where a week like this of sprinting and Keirin racing is just so important. The road riders, well, they get to race so often, almost week in, week out, they get to race. And the track sprinters, it's not that way. There's so much training involved. So a lot of time spent in the gym as we see the presentations for the earlier races this afternoon. And we saw April Catt getting the win in the under-19 Keirin just before. Caitlin Ward doing the presentations, former national team sprinter and now part of the paracycling program. Spent a lot of time in South Australia. Well, she has moved recently back to Victoria. Great to see Katie Ward there. April Catt from the Norwood Cycling Club. You can see already been whipped up by the South Australian Sports Institute. Silver medal there for Maddie Pitt with Hope Harnetti on the podium as well. Good ride from Castlemaine. One of the tracks that they still do some racing and training on, but I never got to race on myself, the Castlemaine Velodrome. I've ridden around on my road bike a couple of times, having spent a lot of time living in Bendigo, just up the road. But never actually turned a pedal in anger at the Castlemaine track. So good to see Castlemaine riders still doing really well at the top level. And the under-19 men's Keirin, Isaac Byrne, Brunswick rider in the Victorian Institute of Sport colours with a bronze medal for him. Sebastian Topping, a Queenslander, rides for Balmoral. Good tactical ride from him. Didn't want to do 3 laps on the front. Fought himself back into it. Wasn't able to get over the top of Lachlan Stewart though. Rides for the Alpine Cycling Club, but a super fast sprinter. Most of the people in the Alpine Cycling Club, they love riding up and down the hills, up around Bright, Toowoomba Gap, Mount Buffalo, Hotham, Falls Creek. Lockie Stewart, he likes to go fast. So he might ride up those climbs, but for the descent to come back down quickly. Super quick here, Lockie Stewart. Well done to the Alpine Cycling Club rider. Bumped into a mate of mine, actually, Pete Grayson. He's come down from Bright to watch the racing. He's out in the mornings all the time with the Alpine Cycling Club bunches. So good to see an old teammate and friend down here just to watch the bike racing. So women's Keirin presentation. And these presentations also fit the bill because we have the Austral final. Some of these riders that are being presented, and certainly in the top 12 of the Keirins, have made it into the Austral finals. So good to give them a little bit of rest before they have to come back out onto the track and go for such a prestigious prize as the 128th edition of the Austral Wheelrace. Just looking for some familiar faces in the crowd. Haven't caught a glimpse of Pete Grayson, my mate. He's out there somewhere. Plenty of familiar faces in the infield amongst the coaching staff. Did go down and catch up with my Olympic Madison partner, Brett Aiken, who's done a wonderful job with the South Australian team. A sassy head coach, along with James Glasspool, Rowan White also in the coaching program. And Ashan Kudinoff, who was a part of that coaching program, has now moved up into the national women's coaching job for the track endurance riders. So it's always been a fantastic pathway through that South Australian Institute up into the top job. And this is the Elite Women's Keirin presentation. Alessia McKay once again standing on the top. She's the national Keirin champion. Had that title for a couple of years now, and 4th at the World Championships this year. Was a very, very special performance from her. Danica Blinko from Queensland with the silver medal, and Nurul Isar Mode from Malaysia. The pocket rocket at 4'9" tall. Plenty of speed and power in those short legs. Bronze medal in the men's Keirin. Of course, that went to Ryoyo Mikami from Japan, the taller of the two Japanese riders in the final. Silver going to the former world champion in this discipline and two-time Olympic medalist in Azazul Awang, with Ryuta Ishida from Japan taking gold. Early move from Mikami. Ichida hard on the wheel. If you're a coach asking for teamwork, it's exactly what you would have expected out of them. I'm not suggesting they did actually work together, but it was a perfect performance for Ichida to be dragged around that final lap before he unleashed the beast to go over the top with enough speed that Awang was unable to match. And in Malaysia, the 37-year-old is a superstar. Television commercials, lots of ads. He's very, very well known. Of course, has spent an enormous amount of time on this particular track in training under John Beasley, the national coach for such a long time of the Malaysian squad. Brought them all to Australia. They didn't have a significant velodrome in Malaysia, but because the program has been so successful, that has ensured government funding has gone into the program. They've built a world-class velodrome. We'll be having a Track World Cup there early next year. And a lot of that is because of the results of that man on screen, Azazul Awang. There's Lockie Stewart, the Keirin rider. Now, my ex-brother-in-law just messaged to say he won B grade at the Tour of Bright last week, which included the Mount Buffalo and Toowoomba Gap. So Lockie Stewart, as fast as he is on a velodrome, can get up a hill as well. He can do it all, the young man. That's going to be perhaps his biggest challenge. What will he focus on? Sometimes it can be easier if you're not good at one of those disciplines and you are forced to become a climber or a roadie or perhaps a track sprinter. But when you can do it all, it certainly makes it a bit more difficult to make the change and the challenge of deciding what to focus on. Well, you can see the riders lining up on the inside of the track now. And that is the final of the women's Austral Wheelrace. The start list, 16 riders. Front marker will be Madeleine Wasserbach from Port Adelaide in South Australia of 115 metres. 6 laps of the track for the women's Austral. It's 8 laps for the men, 2,000 metres, so a little bit shorter. Mould from Malaysia will be 5 metres behind her, off 110. So the riders coming through now. Wasserbach, number 130. The limit marker off 115 metres. Liani Vandenberg, second rider to roll through there, but she's not out the front. She's off 90 metres, Vandenberg, from Norwood. And as you see the riders roll off, I'll go through the list as they are on the start list. Wasserbach off 115. Mould from Malaysia, 110. Then it's Nurul Maud Asri from Malaysia off 95. Maya Dillon off 90. Liani Vandenberg, 90. Kira Will off 65 metres. Alyssa Pallades, the newly crowned Omnium National Champion, she's off 60 metres. Also with Anna Dubier, she's beside her on 60. Odette Lynch, superstar in the Criterium Sprints of the Pro Velo Super League last year on the road. Well, she's off 50 metres here. She's one to watch. She has 2 riders alongside her off 50. Lilia Tatarinov and also Mayo Kakita from Japan. Then it's Mizuki Ikeda from Japan off 40 metres. 10 metres further back to Lauren Perry, a Launceston rider, off 30. Claudia Marks, last year's winner of the Women's Austral, off 20 metres. And then it's Maeve Plouffe and Georgia Baker, both riding off scratch. So the last three riders, the two scratch riders in Baker, Plouffe, and off 20 metres, Claudia Marks, have all won this before. There's Georgia Baker, Maeve Plouffe beside her. So they're the two scratch riders off the back mark. Fascinating to see. The three riders at the back have all won this race before. Maeve Plouffe won it in 2022. Baker won it twice, 2019 and 2023. And, of course, Claudia Marks last year. Off 80 metres last time. Now she's back to 30 metres. Can she do it again? Lynch is one to look out for. 50 metres, but she is strong. Dubier, youngster, had a successful World Championships campaign in the under-19s this year. So she's riding on a high. Lauren Perry there down on the drops, trying to focus. There's Claudia Marks in the blue colours from Caiche, the Caiche Body Wrap team in the Pro Velo Super League, and last year's winner. And there's our two scratch riders. So the back markers, Maeve Plouffe and Georgia Baker, they know each other so very well, having been a part of the Australian Team Pursuit team for a number of years. Both these riders riding together to be Commonwealth Games Team Pursuit champions in 2022. Two riders have won this twice. Georgia Baker is one of them, and the now retired Annette Edmondson. She won in 2012 and 2015. Can Baker be the first to win 3 times the Women's Austral Wheelrace? One rider still making her way around to her start position, one of the Malaysian riders at the top of the screen. Matt Brampton and Nick Owen doing the pushing of the two riders at the back. Almost set to go. The Quest Ivanhoe Austral Wheelrace for the women. 6 laps of the track. 2 riders off scratch. Both have won this before. And we are underway. Focus as much as we can all the way around the track here to see what's going on. Wasserback it is that leads as the limit marker off 115 metres. She comes around already to get 5 laps to go. That's the challenge for the back markers. That's how much they have to make up. But Plouffe very quick up onto the back wheel of Marks. Lauren Perry as well, and it's a race in 2 already. Has been split into 2 groups. 5 riders out in front. The 2 Malaysians really driving it. Wasserback has swung up and gone into 4th position, but struggling. This is the cluster of riders in the 2nd position, which includes the 2 scratch riders and Claudia Marks. So Marks it leads down the back straight of the back group, but look at the group out in front. The gap is not really coming down at 3 laps to go. This could be a huge upset if they don't catch these riders out in front. Maya Dillon. Plouffe it is that's on the front. Baker behind her. Out in front. Wasserback leads. Dillon struggling. They're starting to split up in front. Big effort from Plouffe. 2 to go. Women's Austral final. Georgia Baker is on the front of the main field. And they're coming to the bell. They're not going to get there, the scratch markers. They are not going to get there. Vandenberg it is that leads down the back straight. The South Australian, they're still coming from behind, but there's not enough laps left. Coming into the final straight, Liani Vandenberg is going to win the Women's Austral. The South Australian gets it done. It's a 1-2 for South Australia as Wasserback, the limit marker, comes through for 2nd. So Liani Vandenberg from Norwood Cycling Club off 90 metres claims the Women's Austral thanks to Quest of Ivanhoe. And Maddie Wasserback, 2nd place for her. Maud Farid from Malaysia off 110 metres finishes in third place, and the backmarkers unable to catch the limit group. They split into two very, very quickly. Very strong group of five out in front. They worked well together to hold off the backmarkers. As we see the confirmation, Vanderberg, Wasserback, Maud Farid and Alyssa Pilates it was that came through. The best of the rest in fourth place. She's had a big week, Pilates. Has won her fourth Australian title this week by winning the Omnium. Won the elimination as well, so sensational in these bunch races, Alyssa Pilates. But just too far back at the end. Too many strong riders out in front, and they're so well trained. Maddie Wasserback and Leonie Vanderberg, part of the South Australian Sports Institute program. Mentioned before, Brett Aiken, James Glasspool, Rowan White. Great coaching staff, and they've really prepared those riders well. They might be off big handicaps, but they're well trained. Super hard to try and chase them down, and that's what they showed there. So congratulations to Maddie Wasserback winning the women's Austral. The nervous lineup, the wait for the men in their final about to come out. So 20 riders, 8 laps, an extra 2 laps for the men. Ryan Bates from the Viking Cycling Club will be the limit marker of 190 metres. Liam Underwood, another South Australian riding for Norwood, off 180. Then it's Xavier Siriani from Preston, just up the road, 155 metres. Ollie Ward, one to look out for, another South Australian. He's off 130 alongside Will Brown from Port Adelaide. So the South Australians very well represented out in those front marks. Also off 130, Lockie Walters from Hamilton Wheelers. Alec Guchlimucci, also from Adelaide, off 110 metres. Andre Dubier, saw his sister out there before. Now brother Andre from Lidcombe Auburn, off 90. He has Lockie Stewart. We saw winning the Keirin in the under-19s moments ago. He's alongside him, as is Remy Dalton. 3 riders off 90. Dubier, Stewart and Dalton. Back to 60 metres on his own, Magnus Jamison from Southland in New Zealand. And then 5 metres behind him, Tate Ryan, a superstar sprinter off 55. He'll be dangerous. 5 metres behind him, another fast rider in Max Liebknecht from Port Adelaide, off 40 metres. 4 riders. Noah Blannon, last year's winner. Number 1, Saddlecloth from the Gold Coast. Kurt Ether, number 4 from Dubbo, rides for the Caish Body Wrap team. Oscar Gallagher from Blackburn, and also Sam Washington from Western Australia. Those 4 riders will line up all together on 40 metres. Then James Moriarty, 30 metres. Medalled at the World Championships in the team pursuit this year in Chile. On great form, Moriarty. 15 metres further back is Liam Walsh, and our lone scratchman from New Zealand, Kian Watts. 15-metre gap for Watts to make up to Liam Walsh. Now, Kian Watts, exceptional road rider. Big challenge for him right now to bridge those 15 metres to Liam Walsh. That's going to hurt. It's really hard for the road riders to get off the mark in this type of race. Once they're up to speed, they're fine, but it costs a lot of energy to put all that power through to try and match those sprinters that are just out in front of them. So 190 metres, Ryan Bates from the Vikings Club out in front. Kian Watts, the New Zealander, the lone scratchman. What can Kian Watts do? 15 metres to Liam Walsh, then it's James Moriarty. So 2 riders from our Australian team pursuit team in Walsh and Moriarty off 15 and 30 metres. Then that cluster of 4 riders, including last year's winner in Noah Blannon, off 40. There's the Kiwi. Pete Sens doing the pushing. Kian Watts goes out with Pete's daughter, so he spends a lot of time in Bendigo, where the Senses are from. Shout out to Pete's brother Noel, does a lot of the commentary Thursday nights, or all of the commentary Thursday nights at the club up there. The 128th edition of the Austral Wheelrace, brought to you by Quest of Ivanhoe. First edition, 1887 at the MCG, over 2 miles, 3.2 kilometres. It's now over 2,000 metres or 2K here at Darebin. The oldest track cycling race that's still running. And the 128th Austral Wheelrace is underway. Our lone scratchman, Kian Watts. And there has been an issue. There has been an issue off the 40-metre mark. 2 riders in trouble, and they are blowing the whistle. They are looking for a restart here. Hopefully everybody has heard that. It doesn't look like too many riders are continuing, so good. Not too much of a waste of energy. So 2 riders, and this is the challenge on an indoor track. Let's explain this. 4 riders off 40 metres. Now they can't line up beside each other because they're in the middle of the bend. They can't line up in the banking, so they have to be wheel to wheel on the bottom of the track with their pushers and coordinate to push at the same time. It's really difficult. The first rider in that line, they've got a free run, but for the 3 behind, it's really difficult to not run into the back of the pusher or the rider in front of you, and that's what we saw there. Oscar Gallagher and Sam Washington were the 2 riders that came together. Luckily, they did not touch down. It looks like Gallagher has had a bit of an issue. You can see there at the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side, run into each other, and Shane Perkins, who's doing the pushing, very quick to put his hand up to call for a restart to that race. So smart thinking from an experienced rider like former world Keirin champion Shane Perkins. And fortunately, no one went for more than, say, half a lap at full gas. So really, just a chance to blow out some of that nervous energy, and they can refocus and try again. Yet, those 4 will still be all lined up, back to back, wheel to wheel. When this was first run back in 1887, those first several editions at the MCG, grass track, 3.2 kilometres long, and they were able to have plenty of room, no issues with running into the back of each other. This is one of the challenges that we have on the indoor velodromes, over 250 metres. Not a lot of room to play with. And I think that is a wheel that he's asking for. Oscar. Yeah, you can see. So they've adjusted the wheel that he has, but it does look like he wants another one. So that's Shane Perkins just coming in to inspect the situation, offer some advice. James Glasspool and Jason Niblett. So Niblett from Horsham, Commonwealth Games champion, but now been a long-time coach of the Japanese national sprint program. So thanks to Nibbo for bringing the Japanese team out here. We'll see them feature in both men's and women's Madisons later as well. Both of the Japanese teams are favoured to do very well in those Madison events. Not just sprinters these days in Japan, very good in the endurance racing as well. Liam Gallagher, right-hand side. You can see lining up Kian Watts in the scratch mark, but still an issue for Oscar Gallagher. Everyone almost lined up. It's a long wait, though, for Kian Watts, the scratchman. Fingers crossed, we have the same cog going on the back of the new wheel. And struggling. I remember those days. You undo the nut on one side and then the axle itself turns when you do the other side. It becomes a real challenge to try and get the wheel out. So that's all it is. It's just that as the frame itself wears a little bit, and then it just catches on the inside of the cones on one side, and you can get one nut undone. It's hard to get them both undone and out sometimes. So quick change now. Nervous wait, though, for those riders that have been sitting on the mark now for a number of minutes, including Keirin Watts, Liam Walsh, just both those riders in front of me. Scratch and the 15-metre mark. Not too tight, not too loose. Don't want it too loose that it might come off. You don't want it too tight that it's adding friction through the pedalling action. Important for the mechanic to be very calm. You do not want to rush those situations, make a mistake and maybe not tighten it up enough. And when Oscar gets going off the start this time, there would be the danger of pulling a wheel. You do not want to see that happen. So calm from the coach. Keep things under control. Rethink, reset. 128th edition of the Austral Wheelrace. Thanks to Quest of Ivanhoe. Keirin Watts from New Zealand, the lone scratch marker. Ryan Bates from the Viking Cycling Club off 190 metres. He can see the back of Watts. And we are underway, the 128th Austral Wheelrace. And they are all clear and away this time. You can see way out in front there, Ryan Bates. Liam Underwood getting up to the back of him. Then it's a big gap back to the next group. Sirianni, Ollie Ward, Will Brown. Still the two riders with 6 laps to go. They haven't quite come together. Underwood still fighting to get there. Now this is the back group. You can see Keirin Watts right at the very back there behind Liam Walsh. Washington in the colours of Western Australia lead the back markers. We can see them all on the screen now as they come through. Second group now finally caught the two riders that are out in front. Bates and Underwood have been swallowed up. The middle markers are trying to hold off the Scratchmen. Still a lot of work for the Scratchmen to do though, because look at the strength of the riders out in front. It's Lockie Walters that goes through the Queenslander. Plenty of work for the Scratchmen to do. Watts is still sitting right at the very back. Oscar Gallagher from Victoria sitting in second position there. 3 laps to go. The South Australian sprinters are almost getting to the lead group now, and they're messing things up at the front all over the track as the South Australian sprinters have finally put themselves up there. Liebknecht and Ryan. So Tate Ryan comes through with 2 laps to go. Scratch markers still coming closer. Little bit work to do. Tate Ryan, the world champion in the under 19 kilometre time trial, will come through. He's run down. Noah Blannon, last year's winner. He's now overtaken by Liam Walsh. It's Queenslander passed by Queenslander. Last year's winner has been blown away. Liam Walsh will come through to get the win. So from the mark of 15 metres, Liam Walsh blows the field away to win the Austral Wheelrace, the 128th edition. Coming from the clouds on the last lap, Walsh from Balmoral blasts his way to victory. Well, for a moment there, last year's winner, Noah Blannon, he got to the last lap in front, almost led down the back straight before Walsh came over the top. So there goes Blannon, last year's winner. And there's Walsh into the back straight, 3 wide, straight by. Oscar Gallagher goes over the top of Blannon to try and get himself up into second, but it was Walsh all the way. Time to celebrate. Fist pump for Walsh as he wins the Austral. Gallagher gets second. Blannon, great defence of his title, winning last year, 3rd this time. So Will Brown in 4th. Keirin Watts, the Scratchman, was 5th. Good ride from him, just ahead of Andre Dubier in 6th. So from 15 metres, Walsh wins the Austral. Lockie Stewart from the Alpine region of Victoria. Under 19 Keirin win, now 2nd in the Austral Wheelrace. Fantastic night for him. World Championship medal in the team pursuit at the World Champs in Santiago, Chile this year for Liam Walsh. rounding out in a sensational season for him. He was really good in the Pro Velo Super League as well on the road earlier this year. Some good results riding for the Case Body Wrap team throughout the season as well. Some wins in Asia on the road, and now wrapping things up with a sensational ride, winning the Austral Wheelrace. Their history dating back to 1887. Harry Lambton won the first edition. He also won it back in 1892 to crowds of over 30,000 back in the day. So Nu Alicia Maud Farid from Malaysia. Third place in the women's Austral. And second and first for the riders from South Australia. Madeline Wasserbach from Port Adelaide Cycling Club, second. And a superstar win there for Liane Vanderberg from Norwood, riding in the South Australian Sports Institute colours, getting the win, riding off 90 metres. So a really solid ride there from Vanderberg. So hard for anyone to chase down riders so well trained. Off 90 metres, it's a big head start for someone that's as well trained as Vanderberg and Wasserbach. So it made it really challenging for Georgia Baker, Maeve Plouffe, Claudia Marks, our three back riders. As always, big thanks to Quest of Ivanhoe. Now, we will have the men's presentation coming up shortly. After that, we'll get into the Madison races, so women's and men's Australian National Madison Championships. And I'm going to be joined in commentary by Rowan Hayden-Smith. So welcome to you, Rowan. Great to have you here, mate.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Scott. It's good to be here.
I can't. Now, unfortunately, you would have been racing in this, but you had a bit of an off yesterday. Was it yesterday or the other day?
Yeah, so yesterday I fell off and in the tempo race in the Omnium and landed straight on my head, so probably best to not be doing anything today. The Madison's probably the worst event to be doing with a head injury based on how chaotic it is, so it'll be good to have a different perspective of it, that's for sure.
Now, that also caused a reshuffle for the men's teams. So you were to ride with the winner of the Austral.
Yes, I was meant to be with Walsh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's changed things around. Now, he's been switched to ride with Blake Quick. So still two Queenslanders together, so that'll be interesting to see how they go. But what are you expecting? What were you expecting with Liam? Because Liam, as part of the national team, has been really, really sensational this year, so you would have been a real show.
Yeah, he's super consistent, is Liam. No matter what form he's in, he'll always find a way to turn up for the races he wants to do well in. So I was actually looking forward to today. I thought we had a good shot at getting up, but I still think Liam will have a good shot at winning with Blake. Yeah. They've known each other for a long time and they're pretty close training partners, so I'm pretty sure they won't have any problems with communication or anything.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to see if those two can come together and win it.
There's our top three from the Austral Wheelrace. Liam Walsh is the rider we were just talking about in the middle there, the winner of the Austral. Has to come back out now and ride a 50-kilometre Madison off the back of all the other races we've had this week. It really does make it tough for the riders. Now, you'll be interested in this one, Rowan, because the Austral Wheelrace, I was just talking about the crowds back in the day, over 30,000 or so used to turn up to the MCG when they first had it back in 1887. And one of the early prizes for the first editions was a grand piano. And a lot of the riders used to ride to the competition, so I don't know how they got the grand piano home afterwards, but I'm sure they sorted that out. But the grand piano back then was worth around £200. So in today's money, you can convert that to about $30,000. And a house back in 1887, 1888-ish times, it was about £500 to £700 in Melbourne. £200 for a grand piano as a prize, almost the price of a house in Melbourne. So incredible. It's like the equivalent of $1 million today to win the Austral.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get that today. I'm sure Liam would be ecstatic with that.
Shout out to the Quest of Ivanhoe. Can you chuck in $1 million prize money next year going forward? That would be wonderful.
And if you can put me off 200 metres, that'd be great as well.
We were really focusing on those riders in the front. Noel Blannon looked like he was going to go back-to-back before Liam powered over the top, so a really good finish from him. Was able to sit in there for long enough to just save the legs to be able to then unleash that last 2 laps. So a really solid ride from him. Women's Madison, before we talk about that, let's talk about the presentation now, because the riders are in front of the AusCycling presentation dais. And not quite back-to-back, but a very commendable performance for last year's winner, Noel Blannon. 3rd place this time. Really solid performance from the youngster from Queensland. Lockie Stewart from the Alpine Cycling Club. Winner of the under-19 Keirin earlier tonight. Still with enough energy in the legs to finish 2nd here in the Austral. And Liam Walsh goes out the winner of the 128th edition of the Austral Wheelrace. Great performance from him. For Lockie Stewart, 2nd in the Austral. Perhaps a little bit better than winning B grade at the Tour of Bright last week on the road. But still not bad for a sprinter. Is he a sprinter or is he an enduro? That's what we're going to work out.
I think he's a bit of both, isn't he? He looks pretty good in all the events he does. So.
At least Liam will get the length of 120 laps, 30 kilometres of the women's race to try and rest, recover and get ready for his National Madison Championship. As we look at Leonie van den Berg and Liam Walsh, yes, both number 1 in the women's and men's Austral. Con Kronos, AusCycling's megastar, the Greek god, photographer, does a wonderful job. Does a lot of the news in Melbourne as well. So he's at all the protests and all the scandalous things that happen. He's one of the news photographers as well, Con Kronos. Gets to see a world through a different lens, literally. Talk about, because this is one of the interesting things, it certainly didn't happen in my day. Talking to Rowan Hayden-Smith, crash, banged your head yesterday. You felt okay, but you go through the concussion protocols and just to be on the safe side, decide to pull the plug. Now, that's something that just didn't happen back in my time. It was always about get back up, get back in as quick as possible. Oh, my helmet's broken. Quick, give me another one. Let's go. Whereas now, a crack in a helmet is obviously a signal you've hit your head pretty badly. So you go through the concussion protocol to check whether you should ride. Just talk about that process, what you did yesterday after the race.
Yeah, so immediately after the crash, obviously I knew I hit my head pretty bad, which I'd never done before, so I was a bit unsure as from where to go from there. And they took me into the medical area and just assessed me, and they actually didn't say I was positive for concussion, but didn't say I was negative either. So it was a bit of a grey area around the fact that I had one symptom and not many more. So they deemed it as inconclusive, but still said it's best on the safe side to just rule me out for the rest of the racing until I can get it properly checked by a medical professional.
Yep.
It is a bit frustrating knowing that I was going quite well, but it's obviously understandable, and I wouldn't want to deny the protocol, shall we say, just in case it gets worse over time, which concussion can do. So.
Yeah, yep. Oh, that's just... Now it just seems obviously like common sense, and we talk a lot of talk about that in football. Cycling, we didn't even really have that conversation. And even when it was happening in football, both NRL and AFL and rugby union, there was a lot of conversation about that over the last sort of 10, 15 years. But cycling has become very late to the party. We think about crashing and breaking collarbones, taking skin off, but we just didn't think that often about the actual impact that we had with the road or the track with our head. So it's really important that we are doing that now. And there's talk of helmets in football, whether you should or you shouldn't. Those that have had head injuries will use a soft helmet quite often. And then if you look at NFL in America, they bring in the hard shell helmet. Now, my understanding is that just promoted athletes to then lead with their heads because they thought they were protected, but they're banging their heads so much more often than what they used to when they had soft shell helmets. So, yeah, certainly a lot more conversation to have around it. And we're late to the party, but at least we're doing it now in cycling. Women's Madison field starting to line up. Some of these riders still puffing and panting from the earlier races tonight. So we'll see team number 1, Alyssa Polides and Kira Will. That'll be an interesting team to watch. Polides, she's on form. She won the Omnium over the last couple of days. Also, elimination national champion. And she won the Madison with Maeve Plouffe back in 2022. So Georgia Baker and Ali Anderson. Georgia Baker has been our standout as our leading Madison rider for Australia over the last couple of years with Alex Manley. So she'll be a really interesting one to see. This is the first of the teams, Alyssa Polides and Kira Will, that are coming through, team number 1. And in the familiar Liv Alula colours, World Tour team, Georgia Baker and Ali Anderson. Georgia, the experienced rider at 31. Ali, 22. She was second in the elimination title to Alyssa Polides earlier this year. Team 3, Riley McMullen from New Zealand with Sophie Edwards, South Australian. Be a strong team as well. Last year's Austral winner, Claudia Marks, the 22-year-old from Canberra, with Isla Carr. Now, Isla did have a crash earlier today, so hopefully she's okay. And it's Maeve Plouffe. She was Madison champion in 2022. I mentioned that with Alyssa Polides, with Nicole Duncan, the 19-year-old. South Australian colours of Odette Lynch and Maddie Wasserback on the podium in the Austral moments ago. So team Odette Lynch and Maddie Wasserback. Japanese team coming through, Mayo Kakita and Uchino. And the Japanese last year, 2 laps on the field to win. Ikeda and Uchino. So Sayuka Uchino and Nasuki Ikeda, they absolutely dominated the race last year. So that'll be interesting to see how they go this time. So Ava Schmidtke and Isabella Potts. Okay. So 30 kilometres, 120 laps, sprint every 10 laps for points, 5, 3, 2 and 1. Double points of 10, 6, 4 and 2 on the final sprint. If you take a lap on the field, you'll get 20 points added to your total. And the team with the highest number of points at the end wins. So different rules. It's been this way for quite some time now, but for the old schoolers out there, it used to be take a lap on the field, you're a lap ahead and leading the race, regardless of the amount of points you had. And the sprints were every 20 laps when the Madison first came onto the World Championship and Olympic scene. Changed the format, 20 points for a lap gain, and sprint every 10 laps has really changed the way this race has been conducted as well. One rider from each team lining up on either side of the track. And not quite everyone clicked in as they do get the whistle to go. Rowan, standout teams. What do you think?
I think it's hard to look past Will and Polides. Kira Will won this race last year with Keely Bennett and is a up-and-comer in the Oz team. and obviously Pilates has had a great week this week, so it's hard to look past her as well. And then I'd look at the Japanese pairing, who I believe raced the Olympics together, finished 12th at Paris together, Uchino and Kakita. They have quite a unique style as well, which is interesting to watch. And then I'd look at number 2 as well, Baker and Anderson, who will be teammates next year on Jayco. That'll be a good one to watch as well.
It will. And the experience of Georgia Baker, she knows how to get the job done in these races. It'll be interesting to see how the 31-year-old does combine with Ali Anderson at 22. Certainly less experienced. But in this field, there is a lot of that. A lot of inexperience mixed with, the older, mature riders like Georgia. And the Japanese team last year, Ikeda and Uchino, 2-lap gain on the field. They just blew everyone away. So there's that little bit of nervousness, perhaps, from everyone, expecting them to try and go on the attack again, just like they did last year. So I think they'll be a little bit more heavily marked this time around, at least while there are fresh legs in the field. Once they get a bit further into it and the fatigue starts to come in, maybe that's when we'll see the Japanese really look to dominate.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to balance for the Oz teams, because the Japanese can't actually win the title. So it might get to a point where they get too far ahead that the Aussie teams just look at each other and take the Japanese out of the equation. Same with any team with any New Zealanders in it as well, if that was the case. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. That'll be the same with the QAS pairing of Sanders and Ikeda. It'll be interesting to see how they get on with the differing styles. The Japanese like to change very low, whereas the Aussie style is quite central and next to the hip. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance their styles out and how it could hinder or benefit them over the race.
Just feeling themselves out in the early stages here. First sprint only a couple of laps away, and they'll already be starting to think about getting themselves into the right position. Team number 1 in the pink colours on the fronts, so staying right up where they need to be as they come closer to this first of the intermediate sprints. 113 laps to go. Pilates and Kira Will, team number 1 in the pink colours on the front again. The Alula colours of the map jersey in purple, grey shorts, third wheel for them, and you can see the real hustle to get themselves into the right position. Team number 5, Maeve Plouffe, comes towards the front now. Nicole Duncan it is that's on the front, the teenager. She'll be looking for Plouffe. Really could see her starting to kick the pedals then to keep herself right up towards the front. And the first of our intermediate sprints coming now. Duncan doing a great job to stay on front. Looking for the change now with Plouffe down the back straight. Perfectly timed. Needs to fight underneath of Kira Will to stay there though. The acceleration off the change will guarantee that they'll pick up the 5 points. So Plouffe will pick up 5. Former champ. Kira Will, 3 points for her. Ali Anderson, or Georgia Baker, it was a teammate, 2 points for her. So 3 big favoured teams right at the very front. The one missing the points there was Japan. And already a big split in the field just from the acceleration in that sprint and the first crash as well. Certainly gets messy in the Madison sometimes. I think it was both riders from the same team, Queensland. So just getting it wrong in the change. And new combinations of riders living in different places. Sometimes it's the first time that they've really had the experience of doing changes together, and everyone's a little bit different when they do a hand sling.
Yeah, and that's pretty present even in the Aussie teams, because coming into the race, the coaches like to mix up the teams and put people with people they're not really comfortable with or never might have raced before, which can create some interesting combinations and really mix up how the racing is done between different people.
106 laps to go. Queensland team still scrambling to get themselves back into the race. Now, one of the Queenslanders that went down is already back onto the track, and she has to get immediately into the peloton so they won't lose any laps. And Commissaire is making sure that's being explained to her as she came past our commentary position. So it's Scott McGrory and Rowan Hayden-Smith commentating the Women's National Madison Championship for you. And both Queenslanders back into the race now. So unaffected, hopefully, by that crash. Certainly didn't lose any laps or points during that incident. And already the next sprint to be thought about. They'll come around to get 103 laps to go. Adrenaline pumping through the veins of the Queenslanders, but they've just successfully made another change in front of us. So Plouffe and Duncan lead the way, winning the first 5-point sprint. They've put themselves up into second position now. The black colours of Maeve Plouffe behind Japan. Then it's the Livalula combination trying to come around to get into the right position as they get the bell the next time as they come through. Japan lead. Plouffe makes the change to Duncan in second position. Now it's Japan make a change. Oh, some tight moves in between changes there as they go down the back straight. Duncan over the top. So it's another 5 points, back-to-back 5 points. Ooh, very close as Japan really flashed home there. Kakita and Ichino, should say, didn't quite get there though. So Duncan picks up another 5, so there's 10 points. And they'll extend their lead ever so slightly. So good tactical riding from team number 5. Don't see any problems with them so far.
No, they're looking good so far. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a move come from one of the Japanese to take a lap soon, though. That seems to be more their style, so we'll see what happens in the next 20 laps.
So 3 teams struggling off the back again after that second sprint now. Really important to ride good position, not just to pick up the points, but also to save energy. If you're too far back in the peloton during those sprints, the gaps really do open up as the speed increases as the changeovers are made. So wasting energy just to get back up a couple of laps after each sprint, that comes back to bite you very late in the race. 96 to go. So Wasserback and Lynch in the South Australian Sports Institute colours, team number 6. Good example of that. They had to sprint back on after losing contact. So 94 to go. 6-point advantage that Plouffe and Duncan have. Team number 5, the black colours. They're sitting there in 4th position. So after each of the sprints, Plouffe and Duncan have made sure they stayed right at the pointy end, out of danger. Smart riding from them so far. Very early on, though. So much racing to go. It's an endurance event. Alyssa Pilates now towards the front. She's waiting for them to all get a little bit more tired. She'll come into her own as we get deeper into this race. So Pilates looking for her teammate, Kira Will. The blue and yellow colours. Sophie Edwards comes over the top. The change happens. McMullen, the New Zealander, comes through with 91 laps to go. So McMullen powers into the sprint lap here. Kira Will. Japan now up around the outside. Really fast moving here from Japan. So the Japanese team are starting to get themselves up and going here. Second in the last sprint. Now they pick up the 5 points. Ichino and Kakita. McMullen, 3 points. Kira Will, 2 points. So Plouffe, 1 point for 4th place, I think. Yes, it was. So Duncan and Plouffe still up into the points. And that guarantees that they stay in the overall lead. And the first of the real attacks now coming. So Ikeda and Sanders. So this is the combination that you mentioned before. They can win the race, but they can't win the national team. Sanders as an Aussie, Ikeda as Japanese.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the the rest of the teams want to handle this. It seems like they're happy to chase after them for the moment.
And that has really caused a split. 4 teams out in front. Nicole Duncan was paying attention, though, because she's right up there. Alyssa Pilates as well in the pink colours. And Duncan in the back makes the change to Maeve Plouffe. Black colours, white helmet for Maeve. And Kira Will comes back in the pink colours to change over from Pilates. So Sanders makes the change. Keita comes in and immediately swings up. Bit of a scramble from behind. Georgia Baker in the purple colours closes the gap, as does McMullen, the New Zealander, in the yellow and blue colours. Isla Carr and Claudia Marks have been left wanting. Team scrambling to try and get themselves back up here in contention. 2 very good individual riders in Marks and Carr. Just struggling to find the coordination here as a team in the Madison. So Uchina and Kakita just closing the gap a little bit more there to Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan. But still a 6-point advantage over the next Australian team in Kira Will and Alyssa Pilates. Another sprint coming up. They come thick and fast in this new format. Every 10 laps, another 5 points up for the winner. And it's Pilates that comes through in the pink colours. Sophie Edwards in second position in the blue and yellow. And Japan again, very, very fast in these sprints. So another 5 points coming to the Japanese team, number 9, Uchino and Kakita. So 1 point again for Plouffe and Duncan, but 5 points for Uchina and Kakita. So that will put them right up at the pointy end. One point lead it is for the Japanese team over Plouffe and Duncan now. Kira Will and Alyssa Pilates, 8 points. They narrow the gap again as well to Plouffe and Duncan. So 2 races going on here. The race for the overall win. Japan can certainly go for that. But the national champion will be the first Australian team. And at the moment it's Plouffe and Duncan that are in the box seat, but a narrow 4-point margin over Kira Will and Alyssa Pilates. McMullen and Edwards, it's a New Zealand-Aussie combination. McMullen was born in Canberra, then was riding for New Zealand. And Sophie Edwards, Com Games gold medalist, team pursuit rider for Australia. She was 5th last year with Nicole Duncan in the Aussie Madison Championship. Really good bunch race rider. And a little bit of a settling down now as the riders just starting to get into that fatigue after so many sprints. And this could be an opportunity for any of the teams that don't think they can match it in those head-to-head sprint battles to go on the attack. Easy to say from the outside.
Yeah, it's easy to say from the outside, but I think it's fair to say that most of the teams will be feeling the heat at the moment. But this is one of those important times where if you feel like you can get an advantage and gain a lap, it's going to mean more over the course of the race. If one person takes a lap now, they'll be up by 7 points over the rest of the field. So these points are absolutely critical if you want to try and take a lap.
So just a little bit of time for them to take a deep breath as the pace comes off. The field bunches up. There's still one team that's well and truly off the back, and I don't think they'll ease up enough because the next sprint's not too far away for that team to get themselves back into the race. They will be going a lap down. They'll lose points for that as we focus on the front of the peloton, starting to prepare for this next sprint. 72 laps to go when they come around now. So 1 lap to the next intermediate sprint as Maeve Plouffe comes in off the change. She was quite happy to just allow Alyssa Pilates to go into position number 1, and a little bit of argy-bargy there. Maeve Plouffe just fighting to stay into second position. 3 wide as they come down to the next of the sprints. This can get messy. Georgia Baker throws Ali Anderson in third position. Kira Will down the back straight in second. It's Maeve Plouffe leads around the final bend. Here comes Kira Will. She will have enough to get over the top. So Kira gets the 5 points over Plouffe. Ellie Anderson, 2 points for third place for her. And it was Sophie Edwards in the yellow and blue, picking up 1 point in fourth.
I think there was a good example of why Madison timing in the changes is so critical. You can see there that Team 5 changed with 2 to go. Ideally, you want to be at 1.25 to go or 0.75 laps to go. That way, if you get a change there, you gain momentum, and it's almost impossible to be beaten if you get a change perfectly right.
A few more teams struggling once again after each one of these sprints. The teams that are towards the back are really struggling to stay up there. So team number 1, Kira Will and Pilates, just drifting off the front in the pink colours. Georgia Baker in the Livalula colours of purple and grey. I think unanimously voted as the best hit in the World Tour this year, I think, the Livalula colours.
Yeah, it was a bit of a switch up from last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're
the fashion police. We can talk about it for a moment.
They were, blue and orange last year, so going to purple was a bit of a change, but I think it's worked quite well.
Well done to MAP Clothing, putting in the effort.
Yes, mate.
63 laps to go. Team number 1 down the back straight. They sit in second place overall, but only 2 points off the lead that's being set by Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan. So Pilates and Will now being challenged by the Livalula team. It's Ellie Anderson. Sophie Edwards goes over the top of both of them. Japan once again keeping themselves right in the hunt. They've dropped down to equal second, but it is so close between these top teams. The bell sounds once again. 61 laps to go. Really fast into the change there from Edwards. Really good acceleration from her to set McMullen up as she goes down the back straight, and it was very close. The Japanese came in to make a change, and they just got it wrong as Pilates... deep breath for her, because I thought she was going to be the meat in the sandwich. A Japanese sandwich. Luckily avoided an accident. But, whoa. Love to see that back. That was nasty.
Yeah, that was a close one.
Wow. Well, great sprint there from McMullen. Sophie Edwards set that one up perfectly. But Japan just doing the change so late, halfway down the back straight. Alyssa Pilates almost caught out by that, went straight through the middle of it. And so fortunate for those riders not to come together at maximum speed. And Alyssa, she came down the finishing straight in front of our position here, shaking her head. She knew she dodged a bullet then.
It was a good example of bike handling there. Don't know much more. Many other people would have been able to hold that up there. So good work from all three of those people involved there to make sure that that was not safe, but free of danger.
Good TV. And that has us all tied up at the top. Two teams on 16 and Japan only 1 point behind. So Kira Will and Alyssa Pilates with Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan tied on 16 points. 56 laps to go. Women's National Madison Championships. Uchino and Kakita 1 point behind. McMullen and Edwards, though, keeping themselves in the hunt. Big gap back to Baker and Anderson. So they haven't been able to match it in these sprints. The team from Liv Alula. maybe they need to go on the attack. If they haven't been wasting too much energy trying to go for the sprints, they might have to change their tactics and start attacking.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, because Baker's been one of the strongest females all week. If they've been sitting in and waiting, this would be a good time to make that happen now.
.53 to go, and you can again see the urgency as we approach the next of the intermediate sprints. Pilates on front. Duncan in the black colours starting to move up as well. 52 to go. So Pilates, Baker, Duncan, McMullen underneath in the blue and yellow colours. So Duncan fades back to fourth position, searching for Maeve Plouffe now. They might be out of this sprint because out in front it's Anderson about to come in. Good change. Just talked them up, said that they weren't able to get these sprints nailed. This time they have. Down the back straight, Ali Anderson leads. We can see a big move, though, coming from Nicole Duncan in the pink colours. She's going to get over the top, but Edwards is also there. Duncan gets there ahead of Edwards. Anderson in third. So Anderson and Baker set that one up really well. It was just the closing speed of Duncan that Ali was unable to match. But at least tactically, the Liverlula team in purple did a really good job that time. So Kira Will and Pilates. I think I called it Duncan. Sorry, it was Kira Will. That puts them up on top. 21 points now. Gap opens up a little bit to Plouffe and Duncan. So they were very dominant early on, Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan. And this is where the question gets asked. Go for all those early sprints, win them, look really good. But this race is long. It's hard. Every 10 laps we've got to set ourselves up for these sprints. Have they spent too much too soon? Time will tell. The colours of the black riders in Plouffe and Duncan on the front of the peloton again now. So a little bit of a blip for them as we see Will and Pilates move up to 21 points. So many points on offer, though. Double points, remember, on that final sprint. We've seen it so many times at the World Championship and Olympic Games. The final sprint changes the complete configuration of the final standings. I mentioned Claudia Marks earlier on. She now comes around. They've been doing a lot of chasing, trying to get themselves back into the race after each of those sprints. Marks riding with Isla Carr. So we haven't seen much of last year's Austral winner. Finally gets herself towards the front of the race at 43 laps to go. Sykes and Reeve is the team in green that have just gone one lap behind, so they'll be docked points for that. Rowan, who's impressed so far, do you think?
I've been impressed by Plouffe and Duncan. They're both really good riders. Nicole's double under-19 scratch race world champion, so she's got the credentials there, but she's still really inexperienced. So to see her doing well is a good sign for the future, and hopefully they can continue to keep it going. And yeah, Maeve Plouffe has been outstanding for a number of years now, so it's not surprising to see them doing well, but
it's a good combination. McMullen now being overtaken. Georgia Baker over the top. Pilates in second. So Baker with the 5 points. Pilates with 3. So she will extend her lead along with Kira Will. Was able to follow the wheel of Georgia as well. So if you're not going to be able to get over the top of someone like Georgia Baker, good to be on the wheel. You don't have to go full gas and win every sprint as long as you're consistent. Just chipping away, getting more and more points, opening up that points advantage. Confirmation of that sprint. Baker and Anderson, Will and Pilates, McMullen and Edwards, Puccino and Kakita keep themselves in the hunt as well. Only 8 points away from the lead.
Yeah, what you mentioned in the sprint there is really important. Keeping consistent in the points, but also being able to save energy is an important skill to have, if you like, and being able to position to make that happen is something you definitely need to learn, but once you can learn it, it can help you win races just by conserving energy over time.
Odette Lynch and Maddie Wasserback now on the attack. 36 laps to go. And good move from them. So they haven't gone a lap behind. We haven't seen much of them. They've been struggling off the back a little bit after each of those sprints, but they've kept themselves on the same lap. So this could be a big changer. If they can gain a lap on the field, they're down. They don't have any points at all. So the top teams aren't looking at them as if they're a real danger, but they will become that if they can gain a lap and get 20 points for it.
Yeah, this is a perfect move for them to make because it's unlikely that the big teams will watch them most of the time. And if they can get across, they'll vault themselves into a really good position.
Pilates it is that leads the peloton. Wasserback out in front. Change now to Odette Lynch. And you can see the effort. Odette, she won stages of the Pro Velo Super League earlier this year. Very new to cycling. She's only been a cyclist for a couple of seasons now, coming from rowing. And you can see how good she is in that tuck position as aero she can be. She's a half a lap up on the field. So importantly, she's a half a lap from the back of the peloton. That's where she's trying to get to. Gain a lap on the field, get another 20 points added to the tally. They haven't got any at the moment. This would put them right up into second position. Next sprint as well, so they're guaranteed 5 points for this next sprint. Of course, the peloton will also speed up now as they come through to chase the 3, 2 and 1 points that are still on offer. But if they can stay consistent out in front, the peloton might hesitate after this sprint. Then they can close that gap down, gain the lap on the field. Chasing 3 points out in front. 5 points have already gone to the team from Sassy. It's 3 points that will go to Nicole Duncan. Japan will pick up 2 points, and Georgia Baker, along with Ali Anderson, 1 point for fourth. 29 laps to go. Pressure on the peloton has continued. That's not good news for the team from Sassy out in front. They just want them to hesitate for a little bit longer now. Odette Lynch is about to come back in, and she's been the one that's really been driving this attack. She made the move, and she's really kicked it hard every time she's come in. So peloton is all bunched up again. This is what Odette wants. Hesitation in the peloton, they'll ease off, and Odette can open up that gap again. Pilates trying to keep it going, but Lynch, the cadence is good. She's not slowing. Down into the drops, getting ready for the next change. There it is. Wasserback comes in, and you can see in the change, they're starting to get tired. They haven't got the strength through the upper body that they had in the first couple of changes when this attack happens.
Yeah, they're also starting to slow down when they come into the change, which is not a good sign. It means you're not carrying enough momentum to keep the same speed that you have before, which can also burn you out a bit over time. But if you want to stay off the front and gain the lap, it's critical to keep all the momentum you can.
When you're coming in for a change in these situations, you can really tell the fatigue of your teammate. If they're not hitting you at speed, you know they're starting to really tire, as you mentioned, slowing down before they get to that change. 2.5 to 3 laps is about how much time you spend out there before you get to your partner. Here's a good example here. Wasserback struggling to get to Odette. Odette needs to be as slow as possible when she's out of the race to shorten the amount of time their teammate is in these situations. Riding slow when you're out of the race is as crucial as riding fast when you're in it, when you're trying to gain a lap on the field.
It's also super critical to make sure that you keep the change as short as possible. That way you lose less time during the change, and it's more likely that you'll be able to carry as much momentum as possible.
22 laps to go. Still plenty of time for them to gain a lap here. They picked up 5 points. That got them onto the tally. They didn't have any. Gain a lap, there's 20. They'll have 25. That puts them into the medals. Here's another 5 points that they're going to pick up. They'll make the change. Wasserback comes in. Here's the scramble behind for the minor points. Edwards goes through. Pilates chasing her. Big gap back to the next, which is Japan. But Edwards wants the 3 points that's on offer. This has blown the field completely to pieces. So 5 points to the South Australian team. 3 points to Sophie Edwards with McMullen. 2 points will go to Polides. And a look over the left shoulder there for Maddie Wasserback. Not a good sign. You want to look into where the back of the field is, not where the front of it is. And unfortunately, that big acceleration for second and third place in that last sprint has almost been the undoing of what has been the dominant attack of this race. 6 point advantage now for Kira Will and Alyssa Polides. Odette Lynch still wants to go on with this. Mainfield only just out of shot as she comes into the finishing straight. There they are. That's the gap. It's not much. 17 laps to go.
This would be a good time to counter-attack now.
Kira Will makes the change once again to Polides. And Odette Lynch is going to make them chase for it. She's not going to just sit up and let them have it. If they want this group to come, or they want this attack to be nullified, they have to come out and catch her. Getting to that point in the race now with 16 laps to go that it's unlikely that any further attacks will have enough laps to gain a lap on the field. It is still possible, mathematically, but it is unlikely, and that is the undoing of what was a sensational attack. 10 points from the two sprints while they were out there, but it was the lap gain that they were chasing, and unfortunately they were not able to do that. Wasserback and Lynch have gone to the back of the peloton.
You got to give them credit for the move, though. They're giving this off the best chance they can to win. They're not going to win in the sprint, so doing that is just going to help them get further forwards. And yeah, you've got to credit them for that.
Fantastic effort from them. So Will and Polides lead the way. 6 points ahead of McMullen and Edwards. They're tied on 20 with Plouffe and Duncan. Only 1 point behind them is Uchino and Kakita. Baker and Anderson, a few points back in fifth. And the 10-point gain by Lynch and Wasserback put them up into sixth. 12 laps to go, 2 more sprints. They're approaching the last of the standard sprints. 5, 3, 2 and 1 points. Only one sprint after that to come, and that's double. 10, 6, 4 and 2. Unlikely now that we'll see a lap gain. Almost impossible, you would say. Big change. Been a big move from McMullen and Edwards, and it's Sophie Edwards, the South Australian, that leads down the back straight in the penultimate sprint. Polides in second. Japan in third. And they're closing down. Polides coming up towards Edwards. So this is an important move here. Oh, the throw to the line. I think it might have been Polides. Rowan, what do you think?
I think Polides got there as well, just.
So the pink colours of our race leaders may have picked up the 5 points. Let's wait for final confirmation. Or let's have a look ourselves and see if we can confirm. Good throw to the line. Ooh, I don't know. It might have been down the bottom, actually. It was Edwards, it was, so she held on. So Sophie Edwards keeps herself in the hunt for the national title here. 4 points is the difference. 10 points on the final sprint. It can all still change.
This is a good time for one of the teams in third and fourth to roll the dice here. Get a gap on the field, see if they can stay away for the last sprint. And vault themselves up a bit, because who knows what can happen here.
So 2 teams tied on 21 points. Plouffe, Duncan with Uchino and Kakita. But out in front, Kira Will and Alyssa Polides in the purple colours. 10, 6, 4 and 2 points on offer. Sitting in the gold medal position as National Madison champions, Kira Will and Alyssa Polides. They've gone right to the back of the field here. It's a small peloton, so it shouldn't be too difficult for them to put themselves up to where they need to be to make sure they can test this final sprint. 5 laps remain in the national title. Georgia Baker leads. Silver medalist at the World Championships in this discipline with Alex Manley. Out of the medals here at the National Championships, though, for Georgia. And the ARA team now trying to come up and around, trying to do something. Dubier and Vandenberg, the Austral Wheelrace winner, is off the front, trying to pick up some points. It won't change the overall standings if this team come away with the 10 points at the end. But the increased speed, though, that makes it more difficult to position yourself into the right spot for this final sprint for those teams behind. They'll come round to get 2 laps to go. Oh, and there's been a crash. Ali Anderson's gone down. 2 laps to go, and Maeve Plouffe goes over the top in the black colours. Where's our race leaders in pink? Oh, they're getting super high and wide. Alyssa Pilates has put herself way out of contention here. She'll throw Kira Will in, but she's right towards the back. 29 points, it should be enough. Where's McMullen? She's in 3rd place. Plouffe, Duncan, down the back straight. Japan will come over the top, will they? Or will Kira Will hold on? Will do it. She might. She's fighting. Japan over the top. Kira Will gets the 10 points. Japan will pick up the 6. McMullen gets the 4. And that will guarantee, I think. Wait to see where Nicole Duncan finished. What is it in 4th?
Wait, Plouffe and Duncan will win.
Plouffe and Duncan?
Because they won the last sprint. Will Pilates only got 2 points. They'll all be tied on 31.
Well, that will change everything. Then it will go back to the team that crossed the line first. And we saw who that was, Plouffe and Duncan. So, complete change.
Well, that's not right.
Wait for confirmation. So they've got Baker and Anderson on the screen as winning the last sprint. That's incorrect. They crashed, unfortunately. So McMullen and Edwards on 29. Pilates and Will on 29 as well. But coming across the line ahead of the others was McMullen and Edwards, and that will give them the race win. So Will and Pilates, McMullen and Edwards tied on 29 points. But with McMullen getting to the line ahead of Kira Will, that'll be enough to get the win. How many times have we seen it? The final double point sprint changes everything.
What's McMullen wearing? What team is she?
No, change of confirmation. You were right the first time. So now the officials have changed it, and it is Plouffe and Duncan. Rowan, you got it right the first time. So Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan are the national champions. So McMullen and Edwards in second, with Will and Pilates in third, tied on 29 points. But they are the national champions, Nicole Duncan and Maeve Plouffe. You got to go with the points they give you, and we finally got it sorted. Maeve Plouffe, Nicole Duncan, congratulations. The women in black get the job done. National champions in the Madison. So super strong early. Back-to-back wins the first 2 sprints. Then went missing a little bit. Not too far out of contention, but they were certainly not as dominant through that middle section. But when it really counted, they had that extra little bit to step up and win the big points at the end. And that rocketed them right up to the very top of the podium. A gold medal going to Nicole Duncan, still a youngster, 19. Back-to-back scratch race world champion in the under-19 category. To win a scratch race at a World Championships, that's impressive. To win 2, that shows craft, that shows skill. And that's what she's now carried into the Elite Madison to win the national title here.
You got to say they got that last sprint perfectly right, exactly how you want to do it. Plouffe set it up so well. Nicole was in the exact right spot. Took advantage of the teams being a bit distanced coming into it. So, yeah, can't give them enough credit for that as well.
So the 2022 National Madison champion with Alessia Pilates, Maeve Plouffe, gets to do it again, this time with a teenager, Nicole Duncan. She was second in the points race at the National Championships in her first year in the elites earlier this year, Nicole. So now National Madison champion off the back of those scratch race wins we mentioned at the Under-19 World Championships. Just shows how much craft. So strong legs, great heart and lungs, and a good head. She'll go a long way, Nicole Duncan. It's been a big week of racing with the Omniums, all the other scratch races and things that we've had. And then the Austral into the Madisons. These riders have certainly earned a bit of a rest for the next couple of days. Tears are flowing for Nicole Duncan. Realisation that they've become national champions. As we see the riders rolling out for the Men's National Madison Championship now. Rowan Hayden-Smith, you were supposed to be out there. I'm sure you're nervous sitting on the sidelines watching these riders come out, and certainly interested to see your teammate Liam Walsh and how he actually performs here tonight. So Tom Cornish and Connor Lay, team number 1. That's a really interesting combination. Connor Lay, Olympic gold medalist in the team pursuit last year at the Paris Olympic Games. And Tom Cornish, for those of you that are into your cycling, you know Tom as a former world champion in the team sprint, medalist at the World Championships as well. He's now a endurance rider, riding the Madison Championship. That'll be interesting to see how they go. Graham Frisley, former Australian national team member, now riding for USA with Kurt Ether. Good, strong combination. Noah Blannon and Oscar Gallagher, 2 young riders that are hungry to try and beat the older and more experienced combinations. Japan have Imamura and Koboki. And the Japanese endurance riders have been sensational the last couple of years. Hamish Keast is riding with Magnus Jamison, 2 riders from New Zealand. Ed Marks with Jonas Shelverton. That's team number 6. See the youngsters coming through here, team number 12. It's Ollie Jurovic and Logan Taplin and Alistair Norris. Ollie Ward and Will Brown, the last team to be presented. Just go back to the earlier teams that were rolling out. So team number 6, Ed Marks and Jonas Shelverton. And then your teammate you were supposed to ride with, Liam Walsh with Blake Quick, the 2 Balmoral riders from Queensland. Interesting combination. Blake Quick, really good on the track. Former under-19 world champion with Luke Plapp. But has been focusing on the road in the last couple of seasons. It'll be interesting to see how they go. Josh Duffy and James Moriarty, 2 of our national team pursuit riders. Strong combination. Kean Watts from New Zealand with Will Holmes, the national Omnium champion. So that'll be a good combo as well. Holmes is on sensational form. Alex Hughes, the Australian under-19 road champ, with Sam Washington. So 2 young riders. And then it's into Max Nussbaum and Ollie Jurovic and the few riders that we've already mentioned. So some young riders with some experienced riders, some ex-sprinters with some enduros. This is going to be fascinating. Tom Cornish is the one that I'm really looking forward to seeing how he can go. 50k Madison, sprint every 10 laps. He's one of the stronger of the sprinters, the pure sprinters, and that is why he's made the transition across to endurance. But I'm sure you're as fascinated as I am, Rowan, to see how he can go.
Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing thing to see his transition. He started early on in the year, I believe in February he started his transition. Yep. It'll be interesting to see how he goes with Connor, because I can't remember Cornish ever riding a Madison as well. So it'll be an interesting one to see how he goes with that. But he's got good experience with him, so that'll definitely help him out in that respect.
He's number 1 in the Australian squad colours. So team number 1, Tom Cornish, the former sprinter, 2022 world champ, now an endurance rider. So this will be fascinating to see how he goes. We wish him all the very best. 200 laps, sprint every 10, just as we saw in the women, but an extra 80 laps for them to negotiate. And a changing combination of colours as well that we'll also have to get ourselves used to. Washington and Hughes, team number 10 in the yellow and black colours of Western Australia. So Washington is from WA, but Alex Hughes from Reedy Creek on the Gold Coast in Queensland. My old stomping grounds. Used to ride the old motocross track at Reedy Creek. Still there, actually. They don't use it, haven't been used for a very long time, but you can ride past it when you go around the back of Reedy Creek and see how Alex can perform here as he comes into the race. So 197 laps to go. Team number 2 on the front, Graham Frisley with Kurt Ether, and it's Frisley. Grizzly Frisley, the man born in Montana in the USA, now spends his time when he is in the States in Colorado Springs, the National Training Centre. Missed selection for last year's World Championships, and well within his rights, Graham made the change back to the USA and has fitted very well into their national program. Medalled in World Cups this year, or Nations Cups, in the team pursuit. So good to see them going. I was chatting to him earlier, Graham Frisley. He said they just miss one rider in their team pursuit. They just want one more big engine, and they feel they can be really competitive at the top level. 194 to go. Team number 5, the Kiwis, Hamish Keaston, Magnus Jamison in the green colours.
I think something to see in this race, more so than the women's, because it's a bigger field, is just how important being on the front is. You have to navigate such little, a lot less confusion in the bunch and a lot less changes. We have to go over the top, and it wastes a lot of energy. So being on the front or in second is absolutely crucial to saving energy and being in a safe position. So you'll see that the whole race, it'll just be people trying to get right on the front, regardless if there's a sprint coming up or not.
Saw some very late changes there. Well, they've got 191 laps to go on the board. Now they've given the bell. So the riders were ready for it, but our bell ringer wasn't. So the bell was rung late, but they are going for it. It is going to be Walsh that comes through. So Liam Walsh, Rowan Hayden-Smith, who's sitting beside me in commentary, was supposed to be riding with him in this race until he had a nasty crash in the Omnium yesterday. So just to be cautious with the concussion protocols, after banging his head, deciding to sit out for the rest of the competition. And new combination with Liam Walsh riding with Blake Quick, and they are now leading the Australian Madison Championship after the first sprint. The riders were ready for that. Now, bell ringer, a little bit late to the party. Didn't change anything though. So the former under-19 World Madison champion in Blake Quick finds himself back in the front of a Madison. It's been a while since he's ridden one, and there's some close calls out there, I can tell you. A couple of late changes in that first sprint, and the number one rule is to stay on the outside of the riders that are about to change in front of you, and right on cue, we see a couple of riders touching down. So Moriarty and Duffy caught up in that crash. James Moriarty was the one that went down. So it might look chaotic for those of you that haven't raced the Madison. It may look chaotic, but there are some basic rules to go on the outside of the changes. Always focus, know who's in front of you, and keep aware of where their partners are coming down to change. If they come down late and you're not ready for it, you can get stuck under the wheel and you just slam into them and cause a crash. And as they get deeper into the race and they get really tired, it's so much harder to concentrate when it's most important. You can see the crash happening. So Moriarty, his teammate Duffy, still in the race.
This will be difficult for Duffy now. He's had to sit in there for 6 laps. Usually you're only in there for 3 laps at a time. Even just one spell of missing one change or having to stay in for an extended period of time will hurt you over the course of the race.
Absolutely. Another sprint coming up. So Moriarty needs to get in quickly. Out in front though, it's Walsh again. So another good job from Blake Quick to get into the right position. So Walsh is getting run down from Japan though. So the Japanese, we know how good they are. Internationally, they have been right up there in Madison's. So a super strong team, and they've now come to the front to pick up 5 points.
This is a good time to keep going as well. There's a big split here.
Keep the pressure on. even if it's not to try and gain a lap, it makes everyone chase. If you're not going to go full gas out in front, just keep it at 90% because everyone behind has to work hard to try and close the gaps down. If they hesitate, okay, go on with it. Gain the lap if you can. But in the meantime, put everyone behind under pressure. So 5 points to Japan. Imamura picking up a great sprint win there. You see the scramble of the teams behind not wanting to move, not wanting to miss this move, I should say. So 3 points to Quick and Walsh. Keeps them in the front. 3-point gain over Imamura and Kuboki. Duffy and Moriarty, despite that crash for James Moriarty, still get themselves up in contention on 3 points. $174 laps to go. Oscar Gallagher leads them through. So all back together, but as I mentioned, those teams that were caught behind having to spend an extra couple of laps in the hurt box chasing to close those gaps down. 172 laps to go, sprint next time around. Blannon, youngster, riding with Oscar Gallagher on the front. And it's Tom Cornish that comes around. 1 lap to go for the next sprint. 171 laps to go, and Tom Cornish leads. Look for his teammate in Connor Lay. Change won't happen this lap. So Cornish has the speed. We know that from his sprint background. Just doesn't want to cook it too much too soon. Picks up the 5 points, though. So in the hunt, makes the change now to Connor Lay. The endurance animal now in the race down the back straight. So the Olympic champ swings up. And Kean Watts, the Kiwi, rode for the Israel Premier Tac development team this year. On the same squad for next year as they rename that after all the turmoil that that team has endured over the last year and a half. So Connor Lay still at the front now. Doesn't want to be there for too long. Keast in the green colours, the Kiwi. Keast and Jamison riding for Canterbury and Southland Cycling Team or clubs. So Will Holmes riding with Kean Watts. So Holmes on the front, 165 to go. Very early to be stuck on the front before the next sprint. Blannon, last year's Austral Wheelrace winner. The lanky Queenslander makes a change to Oscar Gallagher in the Victorian Institute of Sport colours with 164 to go. Liam Walsh, the Queenslander, sits in second position. And very tight. Wow, that was really tight there. So Duffy it was that came through to squeeze the pointers Kean Watts came to make the change. Kean Watts coming back up to Duffy. Is there a word said? No. Thank you very much for almost taking me out of the race. But we survive. We live to continue at 162 to go. Yellow flag has been given to number 8. So Duffy. So because of that move, Josh Duffy has been given a warning. Dangerous manoeuvre.
Yeah, I think that's a bit harsh, actually. because he was changing behind him and he swung down in front of him. Usually if they're changing behind you, you stay underneath the change. I think that's a bit harsh from there, but I can understand why they would have put it out there.
Easy one for Walsh this time. 160 to go, and it's an easy 5 points as he cruises off the change from Blake Quick. I had a very brief chat to Blake before the start. I asked him how his track legs are. He's been doing so much road training, although they've had the team pursuit training and stuff that he's had a little bit of time, but he was a bit concerned about his track form. I can tell you, the setup that he's done for Liam Walsh in these first few sprints has been exquisite. So he's stepped straight back in at the very top in terms of technique. So well done to Blake. Let's see how that continues throughout this race with 158 laps to go.
Yeah, it's interesting to see them using that tactic, because usually what you see actually is a team with two fast sprinters will usually use the one with the most experience to set up the sprint. That way the one with the least experience only has to worry about the sprint itself. So it's interesting to see Blake, even though he hasn't had the much time on the track recently, to be doing the setups for Walsh. Although they could probably be doing either job themselves and they'd be fine. So
it'd be interesting in a straight sprint between the two, because they are both quite rapid. Connolly wants to stretch the field a little bit. He does need a hard race, but he needs to be cautious if that's the case, because his teammate, Tom Cornish, not renowned as an enduro just yet. So he has to be careful not to put Tom under too much pressure. And he's going to struggle to find his teammate. Has to thread the needle there as he came down very late.
Yeah, you can see Cornish is struggling with the chaos here.
Yeah,
I think that was to be expected, but he's handling it quite well. He's keeping his position at the front, so fair play to him.
So in terms of pure skill, the sprinters have it the most. But in this format, in a Madison race with the changes, it's a new world for Tom Cornish. So far, so good for him. But I've seen pure sprinters trying to do Madison changes, and it's been horrific to watch, because it's just not their bag. They're not used to it, even though they are super, super skilled riders.
Yeah, there can be no doubt that in an individual bunch race, Cornish would have everyone on pure skill and technique. But in a race like this, where the change is such a critical part of the race, it can waver his skills just a bit in terms of how he especially handles changing with his teammate.
151, the next sprint, and it's Graham Frisley. Grizzly Frisley, the man from Montana. Change down the back straight, Case body wrap team, as Kurt Ether comes in, but hasn't got the speed to match Japan. So Kabuki flies through to pick up the points. Their closing speed in these sprints, when they've been in contention for the win, has been awesome, the Japanese riders.
Yeah, their technique in the changes is very unique, but it's a very good one. They go really long and really low. It's a bit different to most other teams, but it allows them to get closer when they're changing with each other and keep a lot of momentum as well. And they come in super slow, which is very rare.
You need good skills for that. The Japanese have employed the craft and the skills of Daniel Gissiger, the Swiss former road time trial expert, as their national endurance coach. He's been with them for a number of years. I can see him out the middle, actually, just watching what's going on in the proceedings. I used to have a poster on my wall of Daniel Gissiger. I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple of years ago at the World Championships. Ran over as a fanboy, so I can remember. Radial spoke front wheel, only normal bike, handlebar tape only wrapped to the bottom of the hoods, and slick back hair. That was the aero effect back then. Radial spoke front wheel, no bar tape. That was it.
Was that the one with the four-pronged wheel that got banned, or is that different?
No, I'm talking like 28 spokes.
28
normal
right,
spokes.
Yeah.
That was about as aero as they got back then.
There you go.
Cross spokes for road races, radial spokes, 20, maybe 24 spokes if you wanted to go super lightweight. So it was a real pleasure for me to meet Daniel. He's now been coaching and looking so well. The Japanese endurance riders in the team pursuit in Madison, Omnium, have been so good.
Yeah, they've had a real step up in the team pursuit as well. They were looking good before the Olympics, and unfortunately they weren't able to select their full squad. But they're going to go from strength to strength in the next few years.
Yep. Well known as sprinters and Keirin riders, of course, with the Japanese Keirin circuit. They all love to ride. But endurance, they've stepped up as well. 1:43 to go in the National Madison Championship, thanks to Quest of Ivanhoe. If you need somewhere to stay in Melbourne, make sure you look up the Quest out in Ivanhoe. Great spot. It's out of the hustle and bustle of the centre of the city as well. 1:42 to go. The New Zealand team, number 5 on the front. Then it's the youngsters in second position. But once again, this time it's Liam Walsh coming around to get into that first position, looking for Blake Quick. So the bell lap, 1:41, next of our intermediates, and Walsh signalling to Quick to come down. A real squeeze, but the team's behind. Will Holmes in second position, but Blake Quick now gets to contest a sprint. He's done all the setup up until this point. Now he gets to win one. 5 points to Blake Quick, and he keeps the pressure on. So he came in late on the lap for the sprint, and with that, off the change, just keep pressure on the pedals. Keep the stretch of the peloton. Make them work for it. So Will Holmes. Haven't seen much of Holmes and Kean Watts. That's a team we expect to do well as we get deeper into this race. Getting closer to the halfway point now. They can't win the national title with Kean Watts being a New Zealander. Will Holmes, the Australian Omnium champ, coming from South Australia, but they certainly can put pressure on to win the race. Surprising so far not to see any big attacks. Some pressure after the sprints, but no real Hail Marys from further back in the field.
It's interesting we haven't seen any big moves yet. Usually by this point in the race has been a team or a duo of teams trying to take a lap. It must have just been so quick so far that it's been difficult to make that happen.
Move coming from behind now. Is it just for position? Yes, it is. So Duffy and Moriarty, team number 8. So right up around the outside, I thought maybe they just would have launched then, but it was just to get back into a good position. So 1:34 to go. Very handy lead early on from Blake Quick and Liam Walsh. 19 points, 9 points back to the team of Imamura and Kaboki. They're tied with Watts and Holmes, the Kiwi South Australian combination. So the next of the Australian teams for Quick and Walsh in terms of national championships, you've got to look back to Blannon and Gallagher. 7 points. They've got a big lead over the next of the Australian teams. One lap to the next bell. Kurt Ether it is that leads. He'll be looking for Graham Frisley. Haven't seen too much of this team. They're a really good, fast combination. Surprising that we haven't seen too much of them. They have 4 points, a long way down in the standings, but they're going to get some more here because it's Frisley that leads down the back straight. Bit of a gap back to the second place rider, Connor Lay. And it is Frisley that picks up the points.
Watts and Holmes missed the change there. If they've got any nuance about them, the other teams, they'll keep going here. They've got a big gap on them. They're way back now. Keon's losing gap real quick.
Oh, yes. You can see it further back as we see Cornish come through. Second across the line to pick up the 3 points for Tom. He's doing well, the former sprinter. Now, just off screen, as Rowan picked up, just at the top there is where Kean Watts is, and he is still trying to find his teammate, Will Holmes. It's off camera, but it's just about to happen now, and they are at the start of the back straight. That's how much room was lost by missing a change. And while Holmes is going to have to chase right at the top here, you can see just coming through there now across the line, that's Will Holmes. So he'll get back on. But how much damage was done to the legs of Kean Watts, his teammate? That's what we'll find out over the next couple of sprints. Cannot miss changes at this level.
Yeah, one missed change can cost you the entire race. It's pretty brutal, but yeah, you need to be switched on the entire time to make sure you give yourself your best opportunity.
Yeah. So Holmes is now at the back of the main field, so he's back in. No danger to that team that we are expecting to be in contention later in this race. They are a very strong combination. But the Kiwi, Kean Watts, he would be hurting. Deep breaths from him, and let's see how quick he can recover. Pace has come off, so this is to their benefit. So that's with the light blue shoulders, middle of the field. That's Kean Watts.
Yeah, good time for Keirin to be back in as well, giving himself essentially double rest here.
Yep.
That'll help him out.
So there he is, right in the middle, right behind Blake Quick in the maroon colours. So perhaps not too much damage done to the legs of Callum Watts. Let's wait and see as we get deeper into this race. 123 laps to go. Kurt Ether it is that leads down the back straight in the familiar blue colours of Caish Body Wrap, one of the National Road Series formerly, now the Pro Velo Super League teams that have been very dominant. You can see him really kick into the pedals now. They have the bell the next time for the next intermediate sprint. And they have come through now to get the bell. Change is about to happen. Kurt Ether will be looking for Graham Frisley down the back straight. Oscar Gallagher in second position. Will he come over the top of the change? Well, he tried to, but then back in a second for him as Frisley comes through to pick up the 5. Finishing fast there was Connor Lay, but might not have got over the top of Gallagher. So Gallagher with the 3 points, Connor Lay with the 2, and Quick 1 point for him in the maroon colours. That'll keep them up in the first position though. Confirmation. Frisley got there first to pick up 5 points. Starting to show themselves a little bit more now, Frisley and Ether. Puts them up into second place. 7 points from Quick and Walsh. So 4 Australian teams now in the mix for the national title. Max Nussbaum and Ollie Jurovic in the grey colours, the youngsters, second position for them. Will Holmes on the front. Callum Watts not so far showing any ill effect of that mischange earlier on. So that's good to see. Walsh leads down the back straight in that tuck position. Super Aero trying to save some watts, put a bit of a squeeze on everybody else though. Blake Quick comes in. Change in second position. Tom Cornish changes to the Olympic team pursuit champion in Connor Lay, the big Western Australian. Finished third in the National Time Trial Championship 2 years ago. Super strong rider over distance. He'll just keep getting stronger and stronger. And I can tell you at the World Championships in the points race this year, put in a super strong rider. I think he might have been 5th or 6th place. And the points, as hard as the Madison is, the points race is still the most difficult race on the Velodrome at the World Championship level. So that showed some really good form from Connor Lay, not just a one-dimensional time trialer / pursuiter / team pursuiter. He rode really well in the points race at the World Champs.
Yeah, physically the points race is the hardest thing to judge. It goes for so long, individual, and being an individual, you can ride it 100 different ways if you wanted to and have the same result.
Imamura comes through for Japan as we go into the next of the intermediates at 111 laps to go. Ether in second. He's challenging and gets there. Good sprint from Kurt Ether. 5 points for them. That closes the gap because no points for the Queensland combination of Quick and Walsh. So 5 point gain. That's really good. Closing the gap. Confirmation. Ether with the 5 points. Well set up by Graham Frisley. Imamura came across the line to get 3. And it's now a 2 point race. Frisley and Ether, they know exactly what they have to do. Keep themselves in that hunt up against Quick and Walsh. So a seesaw battle in terms of the overall here. The gap opening, then closing. Opening, now closing once again. 2 teams tied on third. Connor Lay with Tom Cornish, Imamura and Kaboki from Japan. The young team of Blannon and Gallagher, 11 points, sit down there in 5th place. That's solid riding.
Yeah, they're going well so far. Noah's been super strong all week. Won the points race on Thursday. Had a good ride in the Omnium yesterday, so he's going well. And obviously Gallagher's put in a good ride last week at Victorian States in the IP, so they're a good, strong combination at the moment. Bit of inexperience, but it doesn't seem to be hindering them at the moment.
Comments there from Rowan Hayden-Smith. For those of you that don't know the young man, he would have been racing in this race. How old are you now, Rowan?
24.
24. Still a whippersnapper. Plenty of racing still to come for Rowan.
Something interesting I've noticed in the race so far, obviously with the pairings being mixed up, there's not too much familiarity with people apart from the Japanese team. Before every sprint, they're communicating to each other across the track. So they've obviously got some sort of information worked out as to what they want, how they're going to do things, which makes sense. They rode at the Olympics together and finished 6th, so they're a good, strong combination.
Yep. Absolutely. And look, with respect, there were times when the Japanese team would come out and ride the Bendigo Madison, and it was like throwing a hand grenade in the field. They didn't have the experience in a big bunch race in a Madison, and often quite dangerous. They are not that anymore. They are superstars on the global scene, the Japanese endurance riders. This is one of the quickest sprints we've seen. Really fast lead into this one at 101 laps to go, and it's Blake Quick again. They are hunting points. Walsh comes in. Connor Lay will get over the top. The squeeze is on. It's going to be a late change. That will allow Walsh to come through to pick up the 5. So super late change from Cornish. They get the 3 points, but timing slightly off.
Yeah, just showing his inexperience there, I feel. He's probably better off getting beyond the line at that point.
Yeah.
And just waiting for Connor to finish the sprint himself.
Yeah, working out the timing when you're out of the race, knowing how many laps to the next sprint, when you need to come in, and you need to either slow down or speed up when you're out of the race. And there he could have sped up to get past the line before the change, and then it's up for Connor. Connor Lay can go for it flat out to get over the top of Liam Walsh, then make the change afterwards. You lose so much in those 20 metres of the change that if you do it late in the lap, you've got no chance of picking up the points. I'm still impressed by his endurance, though. Tom Cornish, so far so good. So 3 points for them. Another good setup in the sprint, though, by Blake Quick. Easy job for Walsh after a setup like that to pick up the points. Frisley and Ether on 20. Quick and Walsh out to 26 now. So there's one constant at the top of the table, but the changes continue. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. That is very fluid at this point. 95 laps to go. It's the Austral Carnival, the 128th edition of the Austral Wheelrace. Run and won earlier tonight. 1887 was the very first edition at the MCG on a grass track. And this is the Australian Madison Championships. It's become a tradition over the last few years now to have the Austral and the National Madison Championships on the same night. Big calendar of racing for all of the riders. At the very least, Rowan, it's a great training effect this week because I'm sure everyone's absolutely buggered by the end of it.
Yes, 100%. I was already starting to feel it by my unfortunate crash on Friday, so I don't know how I'd be dealing with it now, but yeah, it's going to be good for all the guys involved, and a lot of them are just at the start of their training process as well now. After coming back from Worlds, a lot of the Oz guys are not in top form, but you know, they're holding their own well, which is good to see regardless.
Magnus Jamison from New Zealand down the back straight, and big move from Connor Lay round the outside to pick up the points. So 5 points from him. Now that's what we were talking about before. If Connor and Tom hadn't made that change late, perhaps Connor Lay had the speed. He showed it then. He could have won that last sprint, perhaps. Liam Walsh, hard man to get over the top of in a sprint. But Connor was able to do it this time. 5 points to him. And the moves are now starting to come. This is really good to see. Young team, team number 11, Max Nussbaum and Ollie Jurevec. Haven't been contending, but Jurevec, you can hear he's yelling, telling riders to get out of the way as he comes past our commentary position. So the 19-year-old Jurevec on the attack. Gain a lap on the field, you'll get 20 points. That'll put them right up into the standings. And Nussbaum comes in. Not one of the favoured teams earlier, so perhaps Walsh and Quick aren't so desperate to chase them down. If there's a hesitation, it'll be to the advantage of team number 11 out in front. 86 to go. Crowd starting to get behind the youngsters. Walsh senses the danger, doesn't want any teams to get anywhere near them in the point standings. And the gap really opening up between the Queensland team. Big stretch from Liam Walsh as he does the change to Blake Quick. He saw the gaps were opening up behind and really kicked it in the guts as he went down the back straight and made the change to Blake. So the attack is almost over. That's the signal of defeat there from Ollie Juravec. Good move, though. Shows some real character from the young team.
Well, here's a good counter from the Japanese.
Oh, and it's going to be tight under the knees. Quick wasn't ready for that. There was nowhere to go for the Japanese team. If you had the legs after a big attack like we just saw, this is the perfect time to go again.
100%. This is a good move from the Japanese. They put everyone on their heels now.
So Team Japan on the hunt, 82. It's Tom Cornish that's chasing them down. This is going to be a big test for Tom now. The former sprinter, less than 12 months into the transition to be an endurance rider, and he's chasing a very well-credentialed Japanese team in the middle of an Australian Madison Championship off the front. 81 to go. Down the back straight. Another sprint lap. Cornish hasn't made up any ground. He'll be desperately looking for Connor Lay. That change is about to happen. Japan pick up the 5 points. Now Connor gets a chance to hunt them down. The big Western Australian.
The longer the Japanese can stay out here, the more chance they have of snapping the elastic of Team 1. Not saying Cornish is a weak link, but he's not as good at the endurance part of it as Connor is. Keeping him off the front and keeping Cornish under pressure will help them out here.
Well, I sense either tired legs or just a mistake from Connor Lay. He swung up to do work with the young rider Oscar Gallagher, and the pace has come off. That has been a massive advantage, a huge win to Japan, because the gap is now really opening up. They've kept the tempo on. We spoke about it, Rowan, you mentioned it. These guys were at the Olympics last year doing this race. The world's best, the world's fastest Madison we've ever seen. They were in contention. They are not going to slow down until they get this lap.
No, and this is the style the Japanese like, keeping themselves at the head of the race and making the race interesting and keeping it difficult will only benefit them and their experience as well.
Well, Liam Walsh has gone out after them. So Connor Lay unable to close the gap down, and when he changed back to Tom Cornish, it meant that they were not going to be able to chase the Japanese just yet. Needs a combination of teams to do it. The Queenslanders, they want to do it solo. They desperately want to get across to Team Japan, and the gaps are opening up all around the track behind them. So they will pick up the next sprint as well, because they're at 74 to go. They'll come around now to get 73 to go, Japan. So they are on their way to the next 5-point sprint win. That'll take them to 23. And the Queenslanders, inch by inch, are gaining on Japan. 72 to go. There's Connor Lay. That's position number 3 on the track. So Connor's gone out after the Queenslanders. He's about to make the change. Tom Cornish comes in. You can see the front of the race towards the back, and here's another sprint coming up here. So the Queenslanders have, on the left-hand side, just caught in the sprint lap the Japanese team. Blake Quick comes in, chasing 5 points. So 2 teams out in front. Quick will pick up the 5. Japan pick up the 3. And it will be the Keish body wrap team that came across the line in 3rd position. Frisley is out chasing the 2 teams in front. So coming together in front, 2 teams can now work together against the rest.
Seems like from here it'll be more so teams coming across to the front 2 rather than the front 2 getting across to the field. It's so stretched out right now. That seems to be the way it's going to go.
Well, this is a huge move from Graham Frisley. Not far behind these two riders out in front, as we see Japan about to make their change. About 30 metres behind, 40 metres behind them is Kurt Ether now. So Frizzly and Ether, the Case Body Wrap squad, they will get across. They've definitely got the momentum. So it will be 3 teams in front now. So they did benefit. Ether and Frizzly benefited from the other teams trying to chase earlier on. Had the benefit of sitting in, resting a little bit, and then Frizzly went whack, and they have gotten across. So 3 teams in front. Now they need to keep working together here. There's always the danger that they start thinking about the next sprint, not gaining a lap just yet. Let's just hang out here for some extra easy points while we are in front. They've got plenty of time, plenty of room to manoeuvre. There's the gap back to the 4th team on the track. Connor Lay now comes in. Walsh, Kaboki and Frizzly. Imamura now comes in. Changeover from Kaboki for Japan. Ether likewise changing over from Frizzly. There's Connor Lay. Now he's about to make the change back to Tom Cornish. And we'll see what Tom's able to produce here.
Best case scenario here, Cornish just sprints across the gap. It's more that point of the race now where you need to just try and close the gaps as fast as possible.
He has to get there. There's Cornish coming in. So 3 out in front. Another sprint lap. 61 laps to go. Our race leaders are on the front. The maroon colours of Queensland. They rode for the Balmoral Cycling Club. And it's quick, very rapid around the top bend. They'll pick up the 5 points and extend their overall lead. This has been a really dominant performance. Commanding ride so far by the Queenslanders. Japan with the 3. And then it was Frizzly with a Case Body Wrap team with 2 points. They're not too far from getting to the back of what is left of the peloton. Cornish did a reasonable job then, I must say. The 4th team on the track. They haven't lost too much ground. So while the 3 teams that we see on screen are very close to gaining a lap, it does look likely that Connor Lay and Tom Cornish, our 2nd place team, they're in 4th place. Here they are there on the track. Looks like they're going to get there as well. So they are putting in a huge effort to do this lap solo, but at least they will gain the 20 points to be on equal terms with the other 3 teams.
Yeah, Cornish has done a really good job of just holding his own tempo when he's in there. Might not get him any closer, but it's not getting him any further away either, which is a good positive to have. It looks like they're all going to catch the lap now, as well as Gallagher and Blannon as well.
Yeah, well, that's right. Just off the back of those 4 teams, there they are, is Oscar Gallagher and Noah Blannon. So went from 3 to 4 to 5 teams, gaining a lap on the field. Though that was impressive. We talk about Tom Cornish as an ex-sprinter. I'm impressed that he was able to do that. But the youngsters of Blannon and Gallagher, that was a really strong ride to get a lap as well.
Still would have burnt them more than the other 3, though. Even though they were out there for longer, doing it solo is always more difficult regardless of how long it takes. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle themselves now.
And the next move comes. We talked them up before, Will Holmes. They did have an incident where they missed a change. Callum Watts had to stay in for a double stint. That really hurt. Looks like now they've recovered, though. This is a big move. And Frizzly has gone out after them, desperately hunting them down. The Australian Omnium champion, Will Holmes, freshly crowned from that title. And as Callum Watts comes in.
This is where we see, I feel like the early mischange from Keon has just taken his impotence out. Sorry, not impotence. Potency out of his moves. Will Holmes absolutely caned it there to get off the front, and Keon can't handle that pace.
Road legs as well for Keon Watts, as we see Kurt Ether flying down the back straight. So they'll pick up the 5 points here. But this has been a real scramble. We saw those 5 teams take a lap on the field as Ether gets there. Japan will pick up 2nd place points, just ahead of the Queenslanders, our overall leaders. They picked up 2. Quick and Walsh. Connor Lay picked up the 1 point for 4th place in that one. So we're waiting for the dust to settle here. Off the attack of Will Holmes, and then the scramble of the top teams to get across. Who has missed out? Has anyone or all the top contenders still very much in the hunt here?
You can see the solo lap gainers, Blannon and Gallagher, have been caught out behind that there. They're now trying to get across.
There's always someone that misses it, and it was the youngsters of Gallagher and Blannon desperately trying to get themselves back in contention. They will come into shot in just a moment as they back off in front. And the lap gains, 20 points added to the 5 teams that were able to achieve that. As we see now, Quick and Walsh up on 59 points. So a very handy 10-point advantage over Frisley and Ether. Reminder that Frisley, riding for the United States of America now, with the New South Welshman of Kurt Ether, ineligible to win the national title, but they certainly can still win the race. So for Quick and Walsh, their nearest national rivals are Connolly and Tom Cornish, back on 46 points.
Oh, interesting.
Next attack comes, 45 laps to go.
Interesting for the Japanese to be going out after this team. No disrespect to them, but if it was me, I would just leave them out there, let them gain a lap. They're not going to influence the fast of the race. So it's interesting to see Japan latching onto them. Hopefully they can help themselves here.
Well, Ollie Ward and Will Brown, great attack from them. Both South Australians riding in the South Australian Sports Institute colours. But if they are strong enough, what they can do is lend a helping hand perhaps to the Japanese. It's Will Holmes that's trying to chase. Ollie Ward flicks up and down. So I'll look also now at the teams that don't have to be doing the chasing, the ones that are sitting on, saving a little bit of energy. The Queenslanders, they haven't had to do anything just yet. Now they're starting to move up, you can see. Want to make sure they're in contention. There's another sprint coming. So out in front, it's still the young Sassy team from South Australia. Japan, second position. Then it's the Case Body Wrap squad. Kurt Ether in third position. Late change from the Queenslanders. Blake Quick was going to try and hunt them down. Is there enough metres left to get some points? Only the 1 point, because Japan come away with 5. So still 1 point for the Queenslanders. Not too big a disadvantage to them. Japan will pick up 5, so they'll go up into the 50s now. But Quick and Walsh will go up to 60 points. So Japan showing that they're strong, wanting to go on the attack, willing to hurt everybody else. Good to see Team 13, Ward and Brown, the youngsters from South Australia, show some real character as well. They're not there surviving. They are trying to commit and be a part of this race.
As an under-19 team, that's super impressive because the jump from under-19s to elites is so massive. Even to be sitting on and being on positive points and on the lead lap is a really impressive job from them.
Absolutely. 60 points for Quick and Walsh. Frisley and Ether on 52, same as Imamura and Kaboki. So Connolly and Tom Cornish, 46 points. Thinking about national medals in terms of the national championship podium, gold, silver, bronze, Quick, Walsh, Connolly, Tom Cornish, Blannon and Gallagher. Frisley, he always has a point to prove when he's racing in Australia though. Missed national team selection last year, having been at the top level, racing at Nations Cups for Australia. Now a very strong member of the United States national team. Sitting in second position. He would love to prove people wrong here and get himself up to the top step, win this race. A lot of work to do. 8-point deficit to overcome with 34 laps to go. Double points on the final sprint. Still plenty of room. Plenty of laps to gain a 20-point margin. Another lap on the field. We've seen 5 teams do it in one big scramble earlier on. Can any other teams steal a lap now? Kiwis on the hunt in the green colours. Noah Blannon, second position in the VIS colours. Here comes Liam Walsh once again. So 32 laps to go. You see just how early they start preparing for these intermediate sprints. Frisley on the wheel of Walsh. Bell about to sound. Kurt Ether comes in. The Queenslanders will make a change as well. Ether comes in now. Over the top of Blake Quick. And off the change, Quick now up to full speed. Mano o mano between these two. And a look back there from Quick to say, is that all you got? A little bit of attitude coming from the Queenslander. It's a really good sprint between those two. Roles reversed, you'd probably see a different result. That's how close it was. Strong sprinting from both of them and really well set up from both their teammates in the prior lap. Rowan, you could have seen yourself out there leading the national championship with Liam Walsh.
He looks impressive at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's pretty impervious at the moment. Seems to be on the kind of form you'd expect from him in these big races. He just turns up whenever he needs to and gives himself a goal, and he'll give himself the best foot forward to achieve it. So, yeah, he's going well.
Got to stand on the World Championship podium in the team pursuit this year in Santiago, Chile. And a little attack here from Connor Lay. Squeezing a little bit of pressure here. Keast from New Zealand in second position. Our race leaders, the Queenslanders, in third, now second posse, as Oscar Gallagher just paying attention and making sure that those top contenders don't get too far away. So team number 5, Keast and Jamieson, just sneaking off the front, you might say. Slow motion attack from Hamish Keast. Let's see what Magnus Jamieson does here off the change. Here we go. Bit of a look back, 23 laps to go. Knowing how early they set up for these intermediate sprints, it'll only be another lap until the real pressure comes on in the peloton. So the Kiwis need to keep this gap opening up in the right direction. Should have enough now to hold on for this next sprint. Length of the straight it is that's in front. And Blannon is the first to really start putting the pressure onto the main field. Frisley, Walsh, and then it's Holmes. Kiwis will get to the bell first. They'll make a change out in front. Keast should be able to hold on from here for the 5 points. Gallagher comes in off the change of Blannon. Ether comes over the top, so will be the Kiwis pick up the 5 points. Very close though. Frisley it was that got second, just ahead of Gallagher. And Blake Quick with a 1 point. So some really tight sprints here. Great to see so deep in the race. Only 2 sprints to come. Bit of a squeeze and a missed change. Connor Lay with his hand out wants Tom Cornish to come back in, but it's not going to happen. I can see off camera Tom has decided that he'll come back in next time. So this will hurt Connor Lay a little bit. And another attack coming from Japan. Sitting in third place, they know they need to do something really special here if they're going to come away with the race win. This is going to put some pressure on Quick and Walsh.
We're interested to see how Quick and Walsh handle this, because the Japanese cannot win the national title. So will they go out after them, or will they conserve and try and keep themselves ahead of Frisley and Ether?
Very, very rapid. Kaboki down the back straight. And the gap, as he comes across the finish line, he goes out of the front straight, the peloton coming into it, so full length of the straight. Blake Quick has kept the pressure on the field though. Hesitation in the main field is what the Japanese team are after.
Yeah, Blake was getting angsty there. He's worried about it. Asking other teams to chase is not a good sign.
Does he have any friends in the peloton? Do they care? Are they running their own race? That's the question. Japan out in front, leading the way. 13 laps to go. They will pick up the next 5-point sprint. So that's the other factor here. There's still 15 points up to win with double points on the final sprint. throw in the 20 points for a lap gain. There's so much to race for, and Japan are putting themselves very much in the mix to win the overall race here.
Walsh and Blake have just got to go now. They can't get caught by the Japanese team here. If they want to win, they cannot let the Japanese team catch them.
5
even
points.
If they take a lap themselves. Sorry.
5 points coming their way. Japan will get that at the end of this lap, and they can see the back of the main field. So bell, you can hear the difference from the sound of the bell. Fantastic riding from Team Japan. Imamura and Kabuki. Great changes, good skill, great technique. They pick up the 5 points. That'll take them to 59. And within striking distance, but it's all about the lap gain. They'll pick up another 20 points. And that will put it out of contention, I think, if they can do that.
It all comes down to the lap now. If they get across, they'll win. If they get across, they'll win probably.
And the peloton have hesitated. Connor Lay, the front of the field, has put some pressure on, but they've only got to get to the back of the field. That's out in front. So Connor Lay has put the pressure on, but Japan are going to get there. 7 laps to go. They've got to find their way through a couple of teams that are changing and dodging and ducking and weaving, but they're moving up towards the back of the field. They come under the Kiwis. They're not quite there yet. They're just getting to the young South Australian team, but they have to keep going. There's been a split at the back of the field. Connor Lay's also split off the front.
If the Queensland pair want a chance of getting the win here, if the Japanese make it, they have to make sure they get back to team number 1. If they want the 10 points, it's the only way they can win overall. They've been given the lap now.
They have been given it. It's interesting because they haven't quite got to the back of the field in my liking. Peloton has been reached, though, in the eyes of the commissaires, and that's what counts. 4 laps to go, and it's Japan out in front. Imamura and Kabuki lead the way on 79 points, but the field has disintegrated. They are spread right around the Darebin International Sports Centre. At 3 laps to go, Connor Lay leads the way. Gallagher, the youngster from Victoria, in second. Then it's Blake Quick, the Queenslander, in third, desperately hunting. They don't really know and understand the points at this stage. They are just hunting the 10 points at the end. They'll find out at the end, after all of that, who has won the race. Japan's going to do it, though, because they've got more than 10 points advantage. But Quick and Walsh trying to hold on here. It's Connor Lay that leads into the final lap. 10 points on offer here. Liam Walsh hunting him down. Tom Cornish comes in to try and pick up the final sprint. Walsh is coming. Kurt Ether trying to come over the top of him, but it's 10 points that goes to Cornish. Ether picks up the 6. Walsh picks up the 4, but it guarantees the race win goes to Japan. Imamura and Kabuki will win the Australian Madison, but the Australian Madison champions will be Blake Quick and Liam Walsh. Very, very close, as we saw Kurt Ether come over the top to pick up some points at the very end. We'll wait for the final scrambling of the points, but it does appear that the Japanese win the race. Quick and Walsh win the title. And there's the confirmation. Frisley and Ether in third place. Connor Lay and Tom Cornish, after winning the last sprint, finished there in fourth place. Well, we spoke them up. We talked them up early on. We said they're a great combination, the Japanese team. And they were in the hunt the whole way through, but just that extra strength, that was extraordinary at the end. They went on several attacks towards the end. Last one solo. No one could match it. Lap gain, 20 points in the pocket. Thank you very much. There's a race win.
Yeah, that's always what you need to look out for, is the times where you can tell everyone is absolutely on the limit. Even if you're on the limit yourself, that's the best time to try and make a move, and that's exactly what the Japanese did to make it theirs.
Not quite the last sprint that decided it, but the last lap gain, it was within the last couple of laps before that final sprint. So very, very tight indeed for the Japanese team. And you did say, Rowan, it was really up to Queensland at the end to just make sure that the Japanese team didn't reach the peloton. The challenge is, as we saw, once the peloton split up, what do you determine as the main field? And the officials said, okay, they caught a couple of teams towards the back there. At that point, I thought maybe there was more riders in front of that split that would determine what you would say the peloton was. But they got there, the Japanese team, 20 points to their tally, and that was the win at the very, very dying throes of the race. Wow, thrilling racing. I'm sure you would have preferred to be out there. But I tell you what, it looks hard from the outside, doesn't it? That would look like it hurt.
It does look hard. It also looks, when you're inside the race, you can sort of see where gaps are and understand that. When you're up here, you can't see that as well. So it's interesting to see the way people move around outside of the race when you yourself know what it's like to be in it as well.
Yeah. Well, brilliant riding. Shansuke Imamura, 27-year-old. Bronze medal at the Omnium at the World Championships in 2023, just showing just how versatile a rider is. 9-time Asian champion across the team pursuit, the Madison, the Omnium and the elimination. So bunch races, that's his bag. And Kazuki Kabuki, who's 36, a veteran of the sport, world scratch race champion at the World Champs in Denmark last year. I commentated. I was on the ground in Ballerup 2024, and silver medal in the scratch race twice at the World Champs 2022 and 2023. So two brilliant bunch race riders combining so well. There's Daniel Giesiker, the older gentleman, Swiss, now the Japanese national champion. We spoke about him earlier. Daniel Giesiker, Bernard Hinault and Phil Anderson. There's posters, along with Eddie Merckx, the posters I had on the wall, showing my age, different generation of riders when I was a teenager growing up. They were the superstars of the sport.
Good people to have on the wall, though.
Yes.
Pretty influential people.
It's back when you had bike magazines that the fold-out was a magazine, a poster of these riders. Or you could send in and ask for full-size posters of the athletes. Brilliant. Not sure that how many posters on Keys' walls anymore.
No, I feel like it would be like phone backgrounds would be the one today.
Yeah. What would be on your phone background of the current stars?
Ooh, that's a difficult question.
Matthew Van der Poel.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Wout van Aert, actually.
Wout van Aert, yeah.
The way he goes about it, even though he's put together as like not so much of a team player, he definitely is, and he definitely wants the most for the team, which I think is important.
That was just the producers of the Netflix series that made that.
That's very true.
Absolutely. Great battle between these in the early sprints. The Queenslanders would certainly, and you saw the close call there. It was the yellow flag warning that went to Josh Duffy for that one, splitting through the change. But the Queenslanders, you would say, in pure sprint battle, I think they had it. They really had the sprints dialed in. Blake Quick doing so many fantastic setups for Liam Walsh. But in pure strength in the end, it was the Japanese combination that just seemed to have the extra legs to get the final job done. Graham Frisley, some brilliant riding through the race from him. Some closing of the gaps from Frisley was very, very exquisite. Kurt Ether also. Good combination of Ether and Frisley, the Case body wrap team. Second position there coming in. Blake Quick, good to see him back on the track. Quick by nature, quick by name. And this was a great battle, this particular sprint. Late change from Walsh and Quick. And look at that, couple of looks back to Kurt Ether from Blake. The slow motion attack from the Kiwis, snuck off the front.
Sometimes those can be the ones that stick, though.
Yeah. They had the invisibility cape over the top, tried to sneak away. Picked up the points in the sprint, though, for that one. I was expecting attacks like this from Connor Lay, big, strong Western Australian. And it was a real test for his teammate in Tom Cornish. He would have been hurting in those real scramble moments, but he came through pretty well. And the next 12 months will be very, very, very good to watch just how Tom Cornish does progress. But in the end, there can only be one winner, and Team Japan, fantastic pairing, getting the job done. Imamura and Kabuki. The quick pack up that always happens after these races. Kind of feel like you put so much time and effort in, the whole team over the days, and everyone's so desperate to pack up and get out of here. Always a little bit hollow. I feel like we should have a big fry-up, a big barbecue or something, get together afterwards.
That would be nice. I think this is the earliest it's finished in a while, though. Usually it goes until like 11 o'clock.
Presentation not too far away now, as you see the teams coming up onto the presentation dais. Omnium and Madison Track National Championships. Austral weekend, though, the 128th edition of the wonderful and full of history Austral Wheelrace. Alyssa Pilates and Kira Will with the bronze medal. They were very prominent throughout this race. And a new combination from Riley McMullen along with Sophie Edwards. A silver medal for them. McMullen, 30 years of age. Just getting better and better. And Nicole Duncan and Maeve Plouffe are the national champions in the Women's Madison for 2025. Wonderful final sprint to guarantee the gold medal. Very emotional for Nicole Duncan, that realisation after the race that they had finally won.
Congratulations and a round of applause for all our podium finishers in our AusCycling Madison National Championship.
Second time for Maeve Plouffe as the National Madison champion. First time for Nicole Duncan, but with her credentials that she's showing already, her background, two-time World Under-19 scratch race champ, silver medal in the points race at the Nationals this year, first time up in the elite category. I'm sure we're going to see her on the top step of the podium in these bunch races here in Australia in the near future. Certainly we'll be looking at her in terms of national team selection for World Championships as we head towards Los Angeles as well. We are looking for bunch race riders in both men's and women's. Team Pursuit, we seem very, very well credentialed, the Olympic champions, looking to defend their title in Los Angeles. But the bunch races just need a little bit of work there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the bunch racing develops over the years. Australia's always had such a massive focus on the Team Pursuit that the bunch racing kind of takes a back seat at times. But with the change in head coach, especially in the men's team with Glenn O'Shea, seems to be bringing it a bit more back into the forefront as well. So it'll be good to see how that develops over the next few years, and hopefully we can get some good results in the World Championships and World Cups leading into the Olympics. Yep.
And the men come up, not quite fully recovered, but as endurance athletes, heart rates come down. No huffing and puffing from these young men as they just got off the track moments ago. But Graham Frisley, along with Kurt Ether, picking up the bronze medal here. Frisley now riding for the United States. Silver medal, but also the new national champions, with the Japanese unable to be the national champions as the race winners. But Liam Walsh and Blake Quick get to don the wonderful Australian national champions jersey. Similar to the national team jersey, but with the yellow sleeve to signify the difference between the national team. And controversially, Blake Quick's under-19 World Championship Madison partner, Luke Plapp, did spend most of a season as national champion in Europe without the yellow shoulders, because he did prefer just the look of the white shoulders with the green and gold bands. And he was told several times that fines might be coming his way because it's not technically a national champion's jersey.
Interesting. But I would like to see a not outlandish, but maybe a more vibrant Oz national champs kit. Sorry, it'd be interesting to see like what they've done with Kim LaCourte in Mauritius this year, where they've just made their jersey the full colour of the flag. It'd be interesting to see how they could go about that with the Oz one.
That is a wonderful jersey you mentioned, yes. Shinsuke Umamura and Kashugi Kaboki winning the Australian Madison Championships, but the national champions in second place, Liam Walsh and Blake Quick. And we might be able to hear from our champions in just a moment, hoping. Final photos being done, though. So many commendable rides, it must be said, in both men's and women's Madisons here tonight. Not to mention the Austral wheel races. Liam Walsh picking up the double here today, winning the Austral, 128th edition, and now the national championship. Not quite winning the race, as the Japanese just a little bit too strong in the end. They were wonderful. Our national champions to crown what has been a fantastic week of racing here in Melbourne. Blake Quick, Liam Walsh, Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan. Well done to you as well, Rowan. First stint in commentary, been thrown in the last minute, I must say. But well done. Thanks for joining me. It's been great.
No, thanks for having me. It's actually been pretty interesting. I wouldn't have pictured myself being in this position at the start of the week, let's say, but it's actually worked out quite nicely. So, yeah.
And we might be able to hear from our winners now.
Yeah, I've got it.
I don't know who that is. That's a Japanese guy doing a Japanese interview. That's not theirs. No, tell you, don't mind.
Well, we can see the lads getting set up and ready to have a chat to our cameras. And we saw the Japanese riders being interviewed by the Japanese media. Great to have them here as well. Thanks again to Jason Niblett, the national coach, for bringing them out. So competitive last year as well. I'm sure they enjoy their time. Starting to get pretty cold over in Japan at the moment as they go into winter. It's ski season over there. Snowiest country on the planet, Japan, if you didn't know that, Ron. Wonderful powder snow, I must say. Super light. And I'm sure you don't care, being a Queenslander.
I've actually never seen snow before.
Oh, there you go. Mount Tambourine? No, it's not high enough. Mount Cootha? No.
Cootha, definitely not. Maybe Tambourine on like a super odd day, but...
Stanthorpe, I think they have had snow out at Stanthorpe. And Springbrook. Springbrook has had a very light dusting out the back of the Gold
Yeah, that
Coast.
wouldn't surprise me, actually,
Yep.
yeah.
Big day for Liam Walsh. Austral winner. And now the Madison champion. Blake Quick, successful comeback to track cycling. Former world under-19 champion in the Madison, along with Luke Plapp. Plappy spending so much time in love with Wandillagong, just outside of Bright in northeastern Victoria. Struggle to get him back down to the Velodrome now and get him away from the cows up in Wandi.
Last time you guys rode together was at the Olympics.
Yes, almost 1 year and a half.
How did you find the racing here in Melbourne?
I feel 15 years ago, 10 years ago, I was racing here, so no good result. And but now, grow up for me, for us, Japan team. So very happy. So like this, 1, 2, 3, motivation good. No, so happy. Yeah, thank you for support.
You won the race at the very end. Was that the plan?
We know the Australian guys Velodrome. That's why I was waiting. They tired, and after that we attacked. Yeah, if we did the sprint, maybe we will lose. We lost.
Well, that was an amazing tactic. And when did you make that decision in the race?
いや常にオーストラリアの顔を選手の顔を見ながら恐れていました。
They were watching the Australian rider's face and were scared to when to attack.
しかしやっぱり選手権では僕らの選手権ではなかったからもういつレースが終わってもいいと思って走ることができたのでいいリザルトが残せたと思います。
But of course, it's not their national race, so they were just going full gas, and I felt like I was this race could end any time, so I was just going to push myself so hard.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and have a very great Christmas, and we hope to see you next year.
Yeah, we appreciate for the great organized. Thank you for the tour.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Having a chat to the Japanese winners of the Australian Madison Championship. What a great ride it was from them. Liam Walsh and Blake Quick rounding out what has been a fantastic few days of racing with the Australian Omnium Championship as well. GP racing for the sprinters. The Keirins we saw to start the night also love it when the big sprinters get out onto the track. Fastest cyclists on the planet. Before we do wrap things up, Rowan, what are you up to next, and how long for you before you can actually get back into full training or racing?
Yeah, so I've been given 2 weeks general protocol now, just until it...
Oh, hang on one sec, because I think we will go back down to hear from Blake Quick and possibly Liam Walsh as he's coming over into the infield. We can see him there in the middle of the shot, so we can go back and hear from Bear with our national champs.
Championships. How does it feel, Blake? You've been away for a little while.
Yeah, I haven't worn a national championship jersey since January 2022, I think. So it's been a while, but it's nice to be back.
How does it feel for you, Liam?
I've come close a couple of times with Frizzley and with Noah last year, and it's been a race that I've been chasing for a little bit, and it feels good to finally get the green and gold. And props to the Japanese guys, they set us up and rode that race really well, but I'm really proud to be best of the Australians, and I think, yeah, we put our best foot forward all day, and I'm very proud of this result.
There's a bit of a contention in the peloton that when you go past someone, if you don't headbutt them, they feel like you don't respect them.
I'm not sure that's the case. I try to give everyone a little bit of a clean berth, but no, the Madison's always a big fight for position, and that was something that I think we did really well today in trying to keep the race as clean as we can and keep our nose out of trouble. And there's obviously always a few sticking points where you get jumped, but I think that was a key part of our race today and what made the sprints so good for us and a real strong point. So I think that was the part that we rode really well.
And back to the track for you, Blake?
Yeah, I've set myself some new goals back on the track, so I'll be back here to stay for a while.
Well, it's great to see you guys riding together. Congratulations. Wonderful racing. And where do you go to now?
We both go back to Brisbane, I believe, to prepare for Road Nationals in Perth, and then I'm off to Tour Down Under and Cadell's after that, but there's a big year on the track coming ahead, and that's what most of this prep is about, with Nations Cup in Perth on home soil again, and then also the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in mid-year. So big year for both of us, and hopefully this is just the start of this calendar come.
So the plan is to ride Nations Cup as a Madison pairing?
I'm not sure about that. I mean, I'm sure I'd love to, and he'd probably love to as well. I'd hope so. It'd be nice to don the jersey as national champions together, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, we'll have to have a chat to the selectors. Safe trip home. We'll get the girls over here. Congratulations, guys. Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan, what a team. Yeah, you guys kind of snuck in at the end there. You didn't really feature that prominently during the race.
Well, to be honest, our plan, because we weren't really the favourites going into the race whatsoever, our plan was to stay relaxed, stay calm, stay in the wheels for the first few sprints. We didn't take that plan. What did we do? We went for the first 2 sprints. We got them relatively easily, and we kind of just worked off that, conserved energy, went for the easy points as well, but I think we worked pretty well together.
Did you know that if you won the last sprint, you would win the race?
Yes. She wasn't quite sure. I was a little bit unsure with people sending it off the front. I was thinking that maybe we could go for a lap there, but then I could tell that Nicole had really good sprinting legs, so I knew that if I set her up and that if some of the other teams didn't feature in the top 1 or 2, if we just hit them really hard and got a gap, I really trusted Nicole to come through and deliver and get that. And I knew that if we won it, then even if some teams also featured, on count back, we'd still be winning.
Amazing. Now, the PG family-friendly version, what did Maeve say to you when she slung in for the last time?
She said, "You got to win this sprint." And I just went as hard as I could. I knew going into the race, she said the last sprint was going to be the one we were going to try and win. She was going to set me up good. Saw her coming into the final lap. I knew she was off the front, and I knew she'd done the work to get off the front, so I knew I had to hold that. And I was back my sprint. I saw the Japanese rider coming. I was like, nah, not today. I've worked too hard in this race, so we're going to get it on the line.
It was an amazing victory, and it was an unexpected victory, but not because of your talent, just because you guys were so quiet. Congratulations, and have a wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you at Nations Cup.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Love to see smiling faces after they win, but great rides by so many riders here tonight to wrap up the Austral. Thanks once again to Quest of Ivanhoe. Rowan, I mentioned before we did the interviews, I asked about your next movements. Yeah, so what is next for you after having that nasty concussion yesterday?
Yes, I've been given 2 weeks protocol off, which is quite normal for concussion, I believe. Just like 2 weeks, no sport, no strenuous activity, just getting myself recovered once I get a doctor's check done as well. And then for us, the next one is Pro Velo starts, which is good. The first round in Adelaide, and then it'll be off to Oceania Championships in Cambridge, which is early February.
Good luck for that, mate. Very good luck. Let's have a look back at some of the action that we saw here tonight. What a wonderful way to wrap things up for what has been such a big week. The Omnium National Championships finishing off with the Madison, throw in the Keirins, of course the Austral Wheelrace itself. The women's Austral, South Australia did so well. Leonie Vandenberg picking up, and Liam Walsh over the top of Noah Blannon, last year's winner. At one moment, as he was going down the back straight on the final lap, he thought maybe he was going to go back to back, but Liam Walsh said no as he pumped his fist into the air. Commanding win. Came from the clouds to score his first Austral victory. That was really quite special. And the women's Madison, some great rides throughout. Came right down to the end of it, I must say. And a couple of very, very tight changes that were missed. McMullen, Sophie Edwards over the top, and we saw the pink colours of Kira Will along with Alyssa Polides right up there so often in the early sprints. Ended up finishing in third place. It looked like they might have been the dominant team at one point, and then just faded just those last couple of sprints.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how that played out. It was sort of like they were the dominant team in the middle, and then you had Plouffe and Duncan at the start and the end being really strong. So it's interesting to see how they sort of came together at the finish. And likewise in the men's, it was the Queenslanders that were very, very strong early on, then led for the majority of the race, it must be said. They were in a commanding position in so many of those intermediate sprints. Saw a little bit more from Kurt Ether and Graham Frieslee. It took them a little while just to really hit their straps. Connor Lay also strong. Some interesting manoeuvres from Tom Cornish, the ex-sprinter. But it was a final lap gain in the dying throes of the race by a super strong and experienced Japanese team that got them the victory in the end. The national champions, they were crowned though. Blake Quick, Liam Walsh, Maeve Plouffe and Nicole Duncan, the Australian Madison champions for 2025.
Rowan, thanks so much for joining me in commentary. Good luck in your very short recovery and good luck for 2026.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on.
That's been awesome, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to the wonderful Austral Night of Racing here. I'm Scott McGrory. I hope you really enjoyed the coverage. Good night.